Hey guys, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. Today we are gonna see an amazing what-if story, but before we start, it's just a humble request that if you are new here, please subscribe because it actually motivates me a lot to post more. Also, the stories on my channel are fully written by me, so if you have any suggestions for what-if stories, please let me know below the comment section. Now without any further delay, let's start. What if Naruto Uzumaki was feudal lord? So, it has finally come down to the two of us, said Naruto staring down at a blood-red fox with 9 tails. You are powerful boy, more so than your father, but you still aren't powerful enough to fight me on equal grounds, said Kyuubi with a smirk. That may be so, but I am ready to die. My world has been destroyed and everyone that I love is dead. I have nothing left to look forward to, said Naruto powering up a Rasengan. Haha, what happened to the brat who never gave up and was always willing to grow stronger to protect those closest to him, said Kyuubi. He died along with his precious people, all that is left is an empty shell, replied Naruto as his Rasengan got stronger and stronger. Pathetic, I will not waste my time fighting someone so weak, said Kyuubi turning his back on Naruto. Die fox, yelled Naruto charging at the fox so fast he was merely a yellow flash. Before Naruto reached Kyuubi, the fox turned around and stared into Naruto's eyes. Foolish boy, until you are on my level 1 refuse to deal with you. Now be gone, growled Kyuubi, before releasing a powerful blast of chakra at Naruto. The chakra was so powerful that there was a rip in the space and Naruto was blasted through the black hole. Kyuubi just smirked before lying down to get some rest. I eagerly await to see how strong you will become once you get your resolve back. Then I will finally have a worthy challenge, thought Kyuubi before he succumbed to the darkness. Break. It was a beautiful day in feudal Japan and nothing seemed to be wrong. That is until a large hole appeared in the sky and something came out of it crashing to the ground, creating a decent-sized crater. That son of a bitch. Where did he transport me? Grumbled Naruto getting up slowly. When he finally managed to get up, he took a good look around and realized that Kyuubi must have transported him to a different world because he didn't recognize anything. Why couldn't he just kill me? Sighed Naruto before sitting back down on the ground. Unknown to him, he had some creatures watching him and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. When he sat down, they decided to make their move before he could defend himself. Foolish human, snarled a couple centipede demons about to bite down on Naruto. The only problem was that Naruto disappeared right as they were about to devour him. Where did he go? Snarled one of the demons. I don't know what you things want, but I have no quarrel with you, said Naruto, who was now standing behind the demons. You think you can take us on, human? We will devour you, growled the demons before charging at Naruto. Naruto just sighed before grabbing some shuriken and throwing them at the demons. The demons didn't have time to dodge before they all fell dead with a shuriken to the head. I guess I better scope this new world, said Naruto before walking off into the day. 3 years later, Inuyasha, watch out, yelled Shippo. Inuyasha quickly jumped to the side as he dodged the fire blast from Renkatsu. It seems our fight must come to an end for now. But we will meet again, Inuyasha, said Renkatsu before leaving. Inuyasha just growled before running inside the burning temple to rescue his friends. It didn't take him long to find them and Shippo was trying his hardest to fight off the flames. Inuyasha quickly grabbed everyone and leapt out of the burning temple. Once out of the temple, he ran as far as possible away from the temple until he reached a nearby cave and gently laid Kagome, Sango, and Moroku on the ground. Will they be okay, Inuyasha? Asked Shippo with tears in his eyes. Inuyasha just ignored the fox demon and stared down at his friends with a look of defeat in his eyes. You people seem to be in some kind of trouble. Is there anything I can do to assist you all? Asked a voice. Inuyasha and Shippo turned around to say, a tall stranger wearing black monk robes and straw hat blocking the view of his face. Who are you? Growled Inuyasha, drawing his sword. The man just raised his hands in defense before stating he meant no harm. Whoa, I am merely a wanderer and just came over to see if you needed any help because your friends look like they need it, said the man. Inuyasha, please, maybe he can help, pleaded Shippo. Fine, said Inuyasha, sheathing his sword. Mister, Can you help them? They have been poisoned, said Shippo. The man just nodded his head before kneeling down next to the bodies. It seems they have inhaled a substance for a prolonged time that has caused damage to their immune system. I can help them, but you'll have to trust me, said the man before removing his hat. He had spiky blonde hair with sky blue eyes that seemed to peer into your soul. If you end up killing them, I will kill you, said Inuyasha, glaring at the man. The man just nodded before making some weird hand signs and then placing his hands over. Inuyasha and Shippo just watched in amazement as the man's hand started to glow green. They watched in amazement as the man healed each of their friends before he stopped. And fell to the ground on his ass hard. Phew, that poison affected their body worse than I thought, chuckled the man before putting his straw hat back on. Inuyasha and Shippo immediately rushed to their friend's side and noticed they were breathing steadily and seemed to be in perfect health. They will be fine, just give them a day's rest and they will be back in peak condition, said the man. Thank you so much, yelled Shippo with tears in his eyes. The man just smiled before petting the small fox demon on the head. I'm glad I could help, I hope you don't mind, but that took a lot out of me, so I am going to rest near that tree for a bit, said the man before walking over to the nearest tree and leaning his back up against it and falling asleep. I still don't trust him, said Inuyasha. You don't trust anyone, accused Shippo. Faye, said Inuyasha before crossing his arms over his chest. Break. What happened to us? Asked Kagome, rubbing her head. Last thing I remember was being poisoned by that creepy guy with a mask, said Sango, sitting up as well. She was about to say more until she felt a hand groping her butt and turned to see Moroku feigning sleep. Pervert, said Sango before hitting him on the head hard. You all sure are a lively bunch, said a voice in front of them. They all turned to see a man wearing a straw hat staring at them. In his arms was a sleeping Shippo. Who are you? Asked Moroku, not liking the feeling he was getting from the man. Name is Uzumaki Naruto. A pleasure to meet you all, said the man, getting up and waking up Shippo at the same time. Kagome, yelled Shippo before launching himself into her arms. Hey Shippo, glad to see you're doing well, said Kagome, scratching the fox behind his ears. Uzumaki Naruto is it? I've never heard of you before, said Moroku, suspicious. Neither have I, but he did save your lives, said Inuyasha from a tree branch. Wow, never thought I'd hear the day Inuyasha would be thankful towards a weak human, said Kagome with a smile. Faye, replied Inuyasha, crossing his arms. Yes, but he still tends to glare at me every chance he gets, laughed Naruto before he found himself on the end of another glare. Thank you for helping us, said Sango, bowing. No problem, but I am afraid it is time for me to go, said Naruto. Wait, at least let us repay you somehow for all that you have done for us, pleaded Kagome. Let him leave if that's what he wants, grumbled Inuyasha. You know, since your friend seems to enjoy my company so much, I think I will stay, smiled Naruto before receiving another glare from Inuyasha. Faye, just don't get in our way, replied Inuyasha. My name is Kagome, these are Sango and Moroku, said Kagome, smiling at Naruto. A demon slayer, a monk, and a priest. Traveling with a half-demon and a full-fledged demon. What a very interesting group you have here, said Naruto. You're not the only one to think that, said Moroku with a knowing smile. I'm sure there is an interesting story, said Naruto, returning the same knowing smile. Not really, we are just friends who like to travel, said Moroku. The rest of group, except for Kagome, was giving Naruto a suspicious look. Yeah, whatever you all say, replied Naruto before dusting himself off. So what do you do for a living? Asked Sango, trying to change the subject. He says he is a wanderer, scoffed Inuyasha. A wanderer? Asked Moroku. Yes, I am trying to repent for past sins by wandering the lands and helping those that I can, said Naruto with a haunted look in his eyes. What past sins? Asked Kagome, seeing the sadness in his eyes. Naruto quickly schooled his face and smiled at Kagome. Nothing you need to concern yourself about, but I thank you for your concern, said Naruto with a fake smile. Can we get going now that you all have finished talking? Growled Inuyasha, tired of standing around. Yes, I think we need to continue towards that mountain, said Kagome. Mount Hakare, is that where you all are headed? Asked Naruto, curious. You know of Mount Hakare? Asked Moroku surprised. No, but lately I have felt a very powerful presence coming from it and there are rumors that a barrier is protecting it. Replied Naruto before pulling out a sake bottle and taking a sip. What kind of barrier? Asked Kagome. Well, that is the odd thing, it is said to be a purification barrier. But I sense evil as the reason for it, said Naruto taking another sip of his sake. That is odd, said Moroku thinking about what he was just told. Do you know the fastest way to get to the mountain? Asked Sango. Yeah, there is a road nearby. I was on my way up there anyway, so it'll be convenient to just travel with you all, said Naruto. Let's go already, said Inuyasha before leaping off through the trees. Impatient guy, mumbled Naruto before he turned to look back at the group. Why did I agree to travel with these people? What draws me to them? Thought Naruto before taking a sip of sake and following after them. Break. It has been a week since Naruto had joined the group and he could honestly say that there was never a dull moment with this group. They were a very lively bunch and they reminded him of the friends he used to have in the past. In the end, he tried not to interact much with the group so he wouldn't be too attached, but Kagome took every chance she could get to involve him in conversations. Luckily, for him, they were reaching the next village and he could finally take his leave from the group. I sense a jewel shard, whispered Kagome to the others. Naruto's advanced hearing easily picked up what she said and gave her a questioning look. Jewel shards, thought Naruto. What direction is it in? Asked Inuyasha. It is coming from that village up ahead, said Kagome pointing at the village that was now in view. Wait a minute, the smell of graveyard soil is close by. One of the band of 7 is near and I am going to take him out, growled Inuyasha before leaping away. Kagome and the others tried to stop him, but he had already run off by himself. Band of 7, hey? Asked Naruto, surprising everyone because they forgot he was there. Don't worry, I won't interfere, it is none of my business. It was fun traveling with you all, but it is time that I take my leave. Good luck on your journey, said Naruto before breaking off from the group. Kagome wanted to tell him he didn't have to leave, but was stopped by Moroku. Kagome, we must get Inuyasha back first, said Moroku. Kagome looked torn before she nodded her head and the group took off after Naruto. Break. Inuyasha and the gang with Kikyo were now staring down at the 4 members of the Band of 7. Just as the battle was about to start, they had an interruption in the form of one interfering wanderer. Not every day you see a battle between the living and the dead, said Naruto standing between the two groups. Naruto, move, they will kill you, yelled Kagome, but she was too late because Renkatsu had already launched a fire blast at Naruto. The flame completely consumed Naruto until there was nothing but scorched earth left after the fire settled down. Naruto, said Kagome with tears in her eyes as Renkatsu just laughed. Fool died a fool's death, laughed Renkatsu. That wasn't very nice, said a voice besides Renkatsu. The Band of 7 members turned to see a smiling Naruto sitting on one of Ginkatsu's cannons. Everyone just stared in shock at Naruto in disbelief. Yeah, the stairs are getting quite uncomfortable, said Naruto before scratching the back of his head. Kill him, Jikatsu, said Renkatsu. Not as pretty as Inuyasha, but you'll do for now, said Jikatsu before swinging his sword at Naruto. Naruto jumped off Ginkatsu in order to dodge the attack. Once he was off Ginkatsu, Renkatsu and Ginkatsu started their attack on Inuyasha and his gang. I'm sorry, but I do not wish to fight you, said Naruto, easily dodging the blades of Jikatsu's sword. Don't worry, once I carve out your pretty face I'll go for Inuyasha and his friends, said Jikatsu with a smile before swinging his sword at Naruto. I apologize for this then, said Naruto, etching the blade between his finger and thumb. He then broke the blade much to Jikatsu's shock, but before he could refocus he was uppercut into the air and kicked off into the distance where he finally crashed to the ground, knocked out cold. Naruto made sure Jikatsu was down before turning his back to go see how the others were faring. When Naruto reached back with the others he found Inuyasha trying to fight with some man using claws, but was losing badly while Kikyo was about to be run over by the giant Ginkatsu. He saw Moroku rushing to save her, but Naruto didn't think he would make it, so started to make some hand seals. Doden. Doroku Geishi, said Naruto before slamming his hands on the ground, causing a huge earth wall to rise up from the ground that blocked Ginkatsu's path. Ginkotsu and everyone else was surprised by the huge earth wall that stopped him from running over the fall priestess. That solves one problem, said Naruto before taking a sip from his sake. Inuyasha and the others just stared at Naruto in disbelief. He just shrugged at their looks before returning to his sake. Inuyasha was about to turn back to his fight, but he saw Renkatsu fleeing with Ginkatsu and Suikatsu. He was about to chase after them, but Renkatsu used his fire to secure their escape. You know, for dead people they sure seem pretty damn alive to me, said Naruto drinking his sake. You know, for a wanderer, you sure do like to interfere in others' battles, said Moroku sarcastically. I get around, shrugged Naruto. I want to know exactly who you are before I use my sword to cut you a new one, demanded Inuyasha. Inuyasha, you can barely stand with all your injuries. There's no way you will be able to take Naruto on when he was easily able to fight against the Band of Seven, said Moroku logically. I want some answers as well. It is kind of suspicious that he shows up all of a sudden to save our lives twice with no apparent reason, said Sango glaring at Naruto, who continued to drink his sake. Thank you again for saving our lives, said Kagome bowing. What do you plan on doing with the dead priestess, said Naruto pointing at Kikyo. That is none of your business, growled Inuyasha. The woman is a curse upon this land and should be dealt with, said Naruto walking towards the woman. If you lay a finger on her, I will destroy you, growled Inuyasha blocking his path. Before anyone else could do anything, soul collectors started to put souls in Kikyo's body and she awoke slowly. You are not of this world, said Kikyo looking at Naruto. You are not of this world anymore either, said Naruto. The affairs of these lands don't concern you, said Kikyo standing slowly. I agree fully with you on that, but unlike you I do belong with the living, replied Naruto. What is your business here? Asked Kikyo, changing the subject. Got no business, but now I will stay here with you because I want some answers and I know you can tell me much, said Naruto calmly walking up to Kikyo until he was standing before her. He looked down into her eyes as she looked up into his eyes. You may find me at the village orphanage, said Kikyo turning to leave, but before she did, she told the whole group about the mystery behind Mount Hakare. Just as she was about to leave, Inuyasha tried to talk to her but she merely waved him off. We will meet again, but Auntie. Then I wish you good luck on your journey, said Naruto. Inuyasha and the others were going to try to stop him, but he disappeared in a swirl of leaves before they could reach him. I really don't like that bastard, growled Inuyasha. The day after the battle with the Band of Seven, Naruto found himself watching the dead priestess Kikyo tending to orphaned kids of the village. He found the priestess's antics amusing because even though she tried hard to suppress her feelings, Naruto could easily see through her mask. He was able to see through her mask because he was an expert at hiding his feelings and could easily tell when someone else was hiding their true feelings. How long will you continue to watch me? Asked Kikyo, not even turning to face Naruto. Until you stop ignoring me and answer my questions, replied Naruto as he drank his sake. Kikyo wondered how a man could drink so much sake, but not even show an ounce of being drunk. What do you wish to know? Asked Kikyo. I wish to know how you are alive, especially when you have already been reincarnated unless Kagome is your clone, said Naruto. I live by feeding off the souls of others and yes, Kagome is my reincarnation, replied Kikyo. You didn't answer my question, said Naruto, getting a new bottle of sake. I did, I just didn't give you the whole truth, said Kikyo, trying to intimidate Naruto. Yeah, we are going to have to work on that anger problem, said Naruto with a taunting smirk. For some reason this man was able to aggravate her so much that she just wanted to shoot one of her purification arrows at him. How did you get to this world? Asked Kikyo, trying to change the subject. I had nowhere else to go, said Naruto with a haunted look in his eyes, but soon covered it up with a false smile. Quote, I'm not the only one who is hiding the truth now, replied Kikyo with a smirk. She didn't know why, but for some reason she loved the idea of getting one over on the arrogant man. You got me there, but unlike you, I am much better at hiding the truth, said Naruto with a knowing smirk. Anyway, Tell me about these jewel shards that Inuyasha and his gang seem to be hunting, said Naruto, changing the subject. You must be referring to the Shakan jewel shards, said Kikyo. Well now, that explains many things, said Naruto before reaching into his robes and pulling out 2 glowing shards. Kikyo stared in shock, not believing that 2 shards had been so close to her this whole time, but she wasn't able to detect them at all. Not only that, but it seems he is also able to keep the jewel shards pure and untainted. Thought Kikyo in shock. Now I know who you are, the famous priestess Kikyo, guardian of the sacred Shakan jewel, said Naruto. How are you able to block me from detecting those jewel shards? Asked Kikyo, curious and suspicious. Oh, these robes are specially designed to block anything. I had them made because I was good friends with some people who could see through people's clothes, and I had a few fangirls from the clan. I got tired of them using their eyes to undress me, so I had these robes designed especially for blocking their eyes, replied Naruto before putting the shards back inside his robes. I have never heard of such people that are able to use their eyes to see through people, said Kikyo. Like you said before, I am not of this world, so why are you so surprised? Said Naruto with a cheeky grin. You come from an odd world, said Kikyo, glaring at Naruto. This coming from a woman who fights demons on a daily basis. You sure are quick to judge, said Naruto, amused. Do you plan on leaving soon? Asked Kikyo, tiring of the insufferable man. I couldn't do that to you, you would miss me too much, said Naruto with a smile. Kikyo just glared at him on last time before walking away from Naruto. He just looked at the woman with a smirk and drank from his sake. This pull I feel to both Kagome and Kikyo, what is it? Thought Naruto with a frown as he continued to drink his sake. Break. It had been a week since the battle, and Naruto spent most of his time talking with Kikyo and helping her take care of the children. He sometimes used his medical jutsu knowledge to help heal the villagers when they got hurt, but mostly let Kikyo deal with the injuries unless it was something major. Kikyo tried to find out how Naruto was able to do such things, but he told her that she wouldn't be able to utilize chakra since she was dead. She still didn't trust him either, but she learned to accept his presence. It felt like it did when she first met Inuyasha, how there was a barrier between them at first, but later were able to enjoy each other's company. Naruto and Kikyo hadn't got to the point where they were friendly, but they did tolerate one another, except when Naruto went out of his way with helping the kids to causing trouble and performing pranks on her. You sense it as well, yes? Asked Kikyo. Oh yes. There is a battle going on at the base of the mountain, said Naruto. He turned to see what Kikyo was doing, saw her get on a horse, and ride off to the mountain. Naruto just shook his head before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Kikyo soon reached the base of the mountain and saw Inuyasha's brother Sesshomaru battling with 2 members of the Band of 7. She instantly drew an arrow and purified the jewel shard in Suikatsu's neck. He instantly released the hold he had on Rin, and the little girl raced off to hide behind Sesshomaru. Kikyo then rushed to Suikatsu's side and he started to thank her for what she did. Before she removed the shard, though, Jikatsu used his sword to remove the jewel shard and was about to run off, but his path was blocked by Naruto, who was smiling at him. Hand over the jewel shard and I won't use force, said Naruto, holding out his hand. Jikatsu wanted to fight, but knew he wouldn't be able to take Naruto and would just get beat like last time. In the end, he decided to toss Naruto the jewel shard while he ran off. Who are you? Asked Sesshomaru, staring at Naruto. It is polite to introduce yourself before asking the name of others, said Naruto, smiling at the powerful demon unflinching. Replied Sesshomaru before signaling to Rin they were leaving. Naruto just watched them go with a smile on his face before drinking more of his sake. You are very foolish to challenge a demon lord, said Kikyo, walking slowly towards Naruto. Naruto noticed she was having trouble walking and was using her bow as a crutch. He quickly went to her side, lifted her up, and started to carry her bridal style. Why? Asked Kikyo in surprise. You may be a fallen priestess, but you still have a good heart and did not deserve the fate you were given, said Naruto with a serious look on his face. Thank you, said Kikyo softly. Naruto merely smiled down at the priestess and let her know that he knew she just wasn't thanking him for carrying her. It wasn't long before Naruto had got Kikyo back. K to the orphanage safely and laid her down on nearest bed. Will you go help Inuyasha now? Asked Kikyo curious. Will you be okay without me at your side? I don't want you to miss me too much, said Naruto with a smirk. Kikyo finally let a smile show before she started to drift off to sleep. I have survived this long by myself. I think I will be okay without your help, said Kikyo as she slowly drifted off to sleep. My dear priestess, you need more help than you think, but I will go help this Inuyasha you care about so much, said Naruto as he watched Kikyo fall asleep. Once he was sure she was deep asleep, he got up and walked out of the orphanage. It seems we will meet sooner than you think, Inuyasha, thought Naruto as he walked off into the night. Break. Naruto decided to find out more about the mountain before he sought out Inuyasha and his gang. Unfortunately, the mountain started to collapse and he was forced to end his scouting of the mountain and flee to safety. He felt something sinister coming out of the mountain and decided to follow it. It didn't take him long to track down the evil presence and was surprised by what he saw when he reached it. He saw a demon in the form of a man staring down at Kikyo maliciously, but he decided not to interfere unless he had to. The priestess was powerful and he knew she could handle herself. But he would be here just in case she needed help against the demon. So this is Naraku, thought Naruto as he listened to their conversation. Their whole conversation just bored the hell out of him and he thought he would fall asleep because the demon was so full of himself. He sounds like Kyuubi except that Kyuubi has the power to back up his loud talking, where this fool is so weak, thought Naruto before taking another sip of his sake. He was forced to toss his sake though when he realized Naraku was about to cut Kikyo down. Naraku was smirking the whole way thinking he would finally destroy the woman that had plagued him for so long. But soon realized that she had somehow dodged his attack. He looked all over to where she could have gone and noticed a man with a straw hat was holding her in his arms bridal style. Naruto? Asked Kikyo in surprise. Priestess, I thought you told me you would be okay on your own. I can't let you out of my sight for a second now, can I? Said Naruto with a smile. Kikyo couldn't stop herself from returning his smile. Just something about the man that just brought out the joy for life in her. Who are you to interfere with matters that do not concern you? Demanded Naraku as he glared at Naruto and Kikyo. You know it is polite to first introduce yourself before asking for someone else's name, said Naruto with a smile. Naraku growled in anger at Naruto, but before he could do anything, he felt a powerful presence behind him. All this effort to kill a woman, how pathetic, said Sesshomaru. I agree with you there, pal, said Naruto gently letting go of Kikyo as she stood beside him. You know this man Sesshomaru? Asked Naraku surprised. Are you kidding me? Ol Sess and I are buddies from way back in the day, said Naruto laughing as he took a sip of sake from his bottle. I will deal with you in a moment, human. Right now I shall deal with you, Naraku, said Sesshomaru before swinging his sword down and releasing the power of his sword upon Naraku. Naraku didn't even bother to dodge the attack and smiled during the whole thing. Interesting, his power of regeneration is incredible, said Naruto impressing with his healing ability, but still thought the man was extremely weak. In fact, if it weren't for his regenerating ability, Sesshomaru could have easily killed Naraku in that attack. Naraku then launched Sesshomaru's attack back at him, but Sesshomaru merely blocked it with his sword. Before Sesshomaru could fight Naraku some more, Naraku decided to retreat, but not before saying one last thing to Kikyo. Next time we meet, Kikyo, I will finish you, said Naraku before disappearing. Kikyo just watched him go with no emotion showing on her face. Interesting guy that Naraku. He would get along great with the pedophile Orochimaru, said Naruto before taking another sip of his sake. Who are you? Asked Sesshomaru looking at Naruto. Impolite as usual. I told you before that it is polite to introduce yourself first before asking for another's name, said Naruto. Insolent human. Watch your tongue when you speak to Lord Sesshomaru, yelled Jaken. You know you're pretty violent for a toad, said Naruto looking down at Jaken. Sesshomaru grew tired of the human and was about to attack him when he felt a familiar presence arrive. Inuyasha, said Sesshomaru turning to face his brother. Sesshomaru, where is Kikyo and Naraku? Demanded Inuyasha. Well, Naraku flew the coop. But Kikyo is right here, said Naruto catching the Hanyu's attention. Inuyasha turned to see Naruto waving a bottle of sake at him while he leaned on Kikyo's shoulder. "Kikyo, are you okay?" asked Inuyasha, running to her side and knocking Naruto out of the way. Naruto took a good look at Kikyo and could tell she was still in love with Inuyasha no matter how much she tried to hide it. "I am fine, Inuyasha," said Kikyo. "Let's go, Jaken," said Sesshomaru before turning around and leaving with Jaken running to catch up with his lord. "I'm going to miss that demon, he was always so polite," laughed Naruto as he kept drinking his sake. "Inuyasha," yelled Kagome as she and the others finally caught up with him. Kikyo, seeing the others approaching, decided it was time for her to leave as well and started to walk away. "Kikyo," said Inuyasha. "Goodbye, Inuyasha," said Kikyo as she continued to walk away. "Kikyo, remember to look inside your robes if you ever find yourself in trouble and just channel a little of your power into the device," said Naruto as he watched her leave. "What is he talking about?" thought Kikyo as she reached inside her robes and felt something that wasn't there before. She pulled out a three-pronged kunai and wondered how he was able to plant it on her without her knowing. "The more I learn about you, Uzumaki Naruto, the more I realize I don't know about you," thought Kikyo as she continued to walk away. "What were you doing with Kikyo?" demanded Inuyasha. "I was protecting her from Naraku. It seems his goal from the beginning was to kill her," said Naruto. "He went through all that trouble just to kill some woman?" asked Koga in disbelief. "I know, I thought the same thing. I mean, she is beautiful, but I mean Kagome and Sango look just as good to me. Why not go after one of them or some other women?" said Naruto, causing the two women to blush at his words. Koga and Inuyasha growled at the man for flirting with their woman. "What is the real reason he attacked Kikyo?" asked Moroku, knowing Naruto knew the answer. "You're pretty smart for a pervert, remind me of my old sensei. He said something about getting rid of his human heart, whatever that means," said Naruto with a shrug. "He was able to get rid of his heart," said Kagome. "That would explain what Sango and I saw while in the mountain," said Moroku. "You really think T.Ho's things in there were his heart reforming itself?" asked Sango. "It is a possibility, and it would explain why Kagura was protecting the area," said Moroku. "Are you okay, Naruto?" asked Kagome, walking up to him to check for any injuries. "Oh yeah, but thank you for caring," said Naruto with a smile, causing Kagome to blush before smiling back at him. "Hey, stay away from my woman," yelled Koga, standing in front of Naruto with his fist clenched. "Whoa, calm down, I'm not here to start any trouble," said Naruto, putting his hands up in surrender. "Let's find somewhere to rest for the night, we see, and think more about what Naruto had planned in the morning tomorrow," said Moroku. The others nodded as well, but were surprised when Naruto followed right behind them. "What, I decided to join your merry group of travelers, I hope that is okay," said Naruto, scratching his head sheepishly. Inuyasha was about to tell him to get lost, but Kagome merely sat him and told Naruto it was okay. "Of course, you are welcome to travel with us," said Kagome happily. Naruto merely smiled in thanks before walking beside the girl. Inuyasha and Koga just glared at Naruto's back because they didn't like how close Kagome and Naruto seemed to be getting. Break. It has been a few days since Naraku escaped from the mountain, and since then Naruto had spent most of his time talking with Kagome. He tried to keep his distance from the group, but Kagome wouldn't let him and dragged him into every conversation. He soon found himself enjoying their company and chatting with Kagome whenever he had the chance. Inuyasha seemed to grow more distant from the group and more aggressive towards Naruto. Kagome actually had to sit him a couple of times before he started a fight with Naruto. "Oh look, a village up ahead," saw it Kagome, excited to finally be able to rest in a soft bed. "I am running low on sake," said Naruto sadly, as he finished another bottle. "Do you ever drink anything else besides sake?" asked Moroku, genuinely curious. "Will you ever stop groping Sango's butt?" asked Naruto with a smirk. "We all know the answer to that one," said Kagome as Moroku tried to look affronted at being accused of being a pervert. "I wish he would stop though," sighed Sango. "Are you all done joking around?" asked Inuyasha, agitated for some reason. "You know, if you are that anxious to be with Kikyo, why don't you go see her? I know you know where she is at," said Kagome, not meeting Inuyasha's eyes. Inuyasha just stared at Kagome for a while before disappearing in a different direction from the group. Are you sure you okay with letting him leave, Kagome? Asked Sango, worried. Yes, I don't want to get in the way of Inuyasha's desires, said Kagome, putting on a fake smile. Naruto put a comforting hand on her shoulder, because he knew the pain of loving someone and not have that love returned. He knew Inuyasha cared deeply for Kagome, but he would never act on it because his heart belonged to Kikyo. Halt, you people there, yelled a voice from behind them. The group turned around, found some men riding on horse and others on foot, all carrying weapons and heading towards them. What's going on? Asked Moroku. We are under orders to take in all people who seem suspicious, said the man on the horse. Pretty vague orders, said Naruto before the group found themselves surrounded by the group of men with spears pointed at their throats. Naruto and the rest of people in the group were soon tied up and brought to a huge compound. They saw that they weren't the only ones who had been tied up because they saw many other people tied up as well. Kagome and the others were disgusted at how things were being handled, but before they could do anything, Kagome was being dragged off and the men had been ordered to kill them. We must hurry and get to Kagome, yelled Moroku to Sango and Naruto, but he realized Naruto was nowhere in sight. He gave Sango a questioning look, but she didn't know where he went either. He just disappeared, said Sango before she started to plow her way through the soldiers. With Kagome. Kagura, what do you want with me? Asked Kagome fearfully. Kagura just smirked before putting the baby in Kagome's lap and watched as the demon child started to possess her. I'm sorry, but I am going to have to ask you to remove that child, said Naruto. Kagura turned around in surprise, as she didn't even realize that there was someone else in the room until he spoke. Who are you? Asked Kagura before reaching for her fan. She soon realized that her fan wasn't there anymore and looked up to see the man holding it. Forgive me, but she is under my protection, said Naruto before blurring out of existence and reappearing behind Kagura. She didn't even have time to react before Naruto delivered a chop to the back of neck and knocking her out. He then kneeled down in front of Kagome and the baby that was trying to possess her. So this is the heart of Naraku, how pathetic. He is so weak he lives the life of a parasite, said Naruto before performing a rapid series of hand seals. Unbind, whispered Naruto before placing his hands on the baby and forcing it to release his hold on Kagome. The child screamed in pain, but Naruto couldn't care less, picked up Kagome bridal style, and carried her out of the building. He didn't even give the baby demon or Kagura a second glance as he left the building. Oh, there you are, said Moroku as Sango and he finished off the last of the soldiers. What happened to Kagome? Asked Sango, worried. She was possessed by a demon and needs to rest. Let us depart from this place, said Naruto, leading the way out of the compound. Sango and Moroku followed silently behind him, knowing they would get the full story out of Kagome when she woke up. Break. It was the day after the incident with those soldiers that Kagome finally woke up from her deep slumber. Inuyasha had returned late night with Shippo and Kurara, whom both had left to go get Inuyasha. Of course, Inuyasha swiftly started to blame Naruto for Kagome getting hurt, but he was easily shut up by Sango and Moroku, who instantly reminded him that he was the one who left the group to go see Kikyo. What happened? Asked Kagome as she sat up slowly. We were hoping you could tell us that, said Moroku. I remember seeing Kagura carrying some child before she put him in my lap and he did something to me. I kept feeling my darkest feelings coming forth, but then everything after that is a blank, said Kagome. She didn't want Inuyasha to know that the child was easily able to control her because of the hate she harbored for Kikyo. It is a good thing Naruto was able to get to you quickly, otherwise you might still be possessed by that demon, said Sango, giving Naruto a grateful smile. I'm out of sake, said Naruto, depressed, causing everyone to sweat drop. Thank you, Naruto, said Kagome, smiling at him. She was sad that it hadn't been Inuyasha to save her, but knew he was probably busy with Kikyo at the time. Now that we got that done with, we can continue our search for jewel shards, said Inuyasha. Actually, I need to go home to restock on supplies, said Kagome. I think it is best we take a break since we have no idea where to search next for the remaining shards, said Moroku. I agree with Moroku. I need to fix my weapon anyhow, said Sango. Fine, but I want you back within a week, said Inuyasha. Kagome smiled gratefully at Inuyasha because she knew that he could have complained more to get her to stay. Something tells me that Kagome's home is somewhere interesting, thought Naruto. Break. It only took a couple of days to reach Kaide's village where the group finally broke ways. Naruto watched as Moroku and Sango both head towards her own village to fix her weapons while Inuyasha merely went off into the woods to sulk. The one Naruto was most curious about was Kagome and silently followed behind her as she traveled to some well in the woods by a sacred tree. He watched as she jumped down the well and was surprised when he looked down to see if she was okay and found she wasn't down there. Interesting, thought Naruto, before he leapt down the well as well. As soon as he hit the bottom, he was surrounded in a bright light. He watched amazed as the many lights surrounded him before they went away and he found himself standing in the same well. But something was different. Jumping out of the well, he noticed that he was now inside a small hut and the air was very different. Naruto calmly walked out of the hut and was amazed by what he saw. But soon found himself at the end of an arrow. "What are you doing here?" asked Kagome suspiciously. "Honestly, I was curious to where you had gone off to and when I saw you jumped down the well in the middle of the woods and I got curious," said Naruto sheepishly. "How do I know I can trust you?" asked Kagome. "I would never harm you Kagome in any way," said Naruto giving Kagome a meaningful gaze. Kagome just gazed right back into Naruto's sky blue eyes before she slowly lowered her weapon. "I'm sorry, I'm still a little shaken up from what happened a few days ago," said Kagome apologizing. "No need to apologize, you had every right to be wary of me," said Naruto smiling. "Come on, I will give you a tour of my world," said Kagome before grabbing his hand and dragging him to her large shrine where she lived. "Where are you taking me?" asked Naruto as he followed Kagome into the large shrine. "I want you to meet my family," said Kagome. "Oh, well okay, I didn't think we were at that point in our relationship. I mean I haven't even asked you to be my girlfriend yet," said Naruto with a smirk. Kagome just blushed before hitting him on the arm. "Must you hit me so hard?" said Naruto with a smile. "Hello Kagome, I see you have returned and you brought a new friend," said Mrs. Higurashi coming out of the shrine to greet Kagome. "Naruto, this is my mom. Mom, meet Naruto," said Kagome introducing the two. "Hello Naruto," said Mrs. Higurashi bowing. "A pleasure to meet you ma'am," said Naruto returning the bow. "Oh, he is a polite one isn't he Kagome," said Mrs. Higurashi with a wink. "Mother," yelled Kagome with a blush. Naruto just chuckled at Kagome's reaction. "Come on inside you two and I'll cook us up some food," said Mrs. Higurashi leading the way inside the shrine. Naruto and Kagome followed behind after Mrs. Higurashi and soon found themselves sitting at a small dining table. "Your mother seems like a very nice woman," said Naruto as they waited for her to serve them some food. She is always there to help me when I have a problem," said Kagome smiling. "Who else lives here with you and your mother?" asked Naruto curious. "I have a little brother and my grandfather also lives here at the shrine," answered Kagome. "Must be nice to have a family to take care of you," said Naruto with a longing look in his eyes. "Do you have any younger siblings?" asked Kagome curious. "I never knew my mother or father, they died the day I was born," said Naruto sadly. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up bad memories," said Kagome shocked at what she heard. "It is fine, I may not have had any blood relatives alive, but that doesn't mean I didn't find people that I considered to be family," said Naruto with a smile. "So what exactly is this place? I mean is that well a connection a whole other world?" asked Naruto before Kagome could ask him anything further about his past. "Actually, this is the future and the time we were in before was the past," said Kagome, not missing how Naruto quickly changed the conversation. "Wow, the ability to travel back and forth between time, which is a pretty impressive ability. It also explains why you wear such weird clothes," said Naruto with a grin. "My clothes aren't weird," growled Kagome. Naruto would have teased her further, but her mother came back with the food. "Here you both go," said Mrs. Higurashi placing down some food in front of Kagome and Naruto. "Thank you for the food ma'am," said Naruto with a smile. "Thank you mom," said Kagome before using her chopsticks to start eating. For the next 20 minutes, Naruto and Kagome made small talk as they eat the delicious meal that Mrs. Higurashi made. That was a delicious meal, said Naruto as he finished his meal. Thank you for the great meal, Mom, said Kagome. It was my pleasure. Your brother should be getting home soon. Why don't you go introduce him to Naruto when he arrives, said Mrs. Higurashi before picking up the dishes. If your brother is anything like you, I'm sure he is quite the kid, laughed Naruto. You're such a prat. Come on, I'll introduce to my brother, said Kagome leading the way to the front entrance of the shrine. Naruto just smiled before following Kagome out of the shrine. Once outside the shrine, they sat down on the steps and waiting for Kagome's little brother to get home. Are you okay, Kagome? Asked Naruto. Yes. Why do you ask? Asked Kagome, giving Naruto a weird look. I just wanted to make sure you are okay. Ever since that demon possessed you, you have been acting differently, replied Naruto. Could he possibly know what happened while I was possessed? Wondered Kagome while hoping he didn't. I'm here if you wish to talk about it, Kagome-chan, said Naruto with a caring smile. Kagome couldn't help but smile back. Hey sis, yelled Sota running up the shrine steps. Hey Sota, welcome home, said Kagome as she waved to her brother. Who is this? Asked Sota staring at Naruto. He is Naruto, a friend from the past, said Kagome. Why did you bring him and not Inuyasha? Asked Sota disappointed. Sota, don't be so rude, said Kagome, but as she was about to apologize on behalf of her brother to Naruto, she heard him laughing and merely waved it off. Don't worry about it, I understand wanting your idol around than some stranger, said Naruto with a smile. Sota, go back inside and tell Mom you're home, said Kagome. Sota gave Naruto one last look before running inside to get something to eat. He seems like a good kid, said Naruto as he watched the boy leave. Yeah, he is, but sometimes he can be so annoying, replied Kagome before sitting back down next to Naruto, but much closer than before. Naruto just smirked before wrapping his arm around the girl and leaning his head against hers. I'm sure he can say the same thing about you sometimes, said Naruto as Kagome just nodded her head and was trying to hide her blush. She wanted to tell him to let go of her, but she found that she liked being close to him and couldn't deny the butterflies she was feeling in her stomach at the moment. How did you know my brother idolized Inuyasha? Asked Kagome, trying to focus on something other than Naruto. I could see it in his eyes and by how depressed he was that I was here and Inuyasha wasn't, answered Naruto. I can't deny those facts. Ever since Inuyasha saved my life and Sota saw him do it, he has idolized him, laughed Kagome at the memory of Sota trying to mimic Inuyasha's attacks. It is funny to think that someone would idolize that grumpy Hanyu, said Naruto with a smirk. He isn't that bad. I'm sure if you didn't try to make him angry all the time you would see that he is a pretty decent guy, said Kagome defending Inuyasha. I don't know about that, but I'll take your word for it. We better get back inside, it is getting late, said Naruto helping Kagome up. Kagome didn't realize it until then, but it had got dark out. She was as surprised that Naruto and she had been talking for so long. Yeah, you'll have to sleep on the couch, I hope that is okay, said Kagome as they walked towards the shrine. That will be fine, said Naruto as they walked back into the shrine. Kagome brought some covers down for Naruto used before returning to her room. She decided to take a bath before she went to sleep to calm her nerves from the rough week she had. As she was relaxing in the bath, Kagome mulled over the many things that happened during the week. No matter how hard I try, I can't seem to get it out of my head how that demon was able to possess me so easily. He said he was able to possess me so easily because of all the hate I harbored for Kikyo. Do I really hate Kikyo so much? I know Inuyasha will never look at me the way I look at him so long as Kikyo lives. But do I really wish for her to be dead so he will, thought Kagome gloomily. She didn't like the fact that she wished for someone else dead just so she could be happy. Then there is Naruto. For some reason I feel drawn to him more so than I do Inuyasha. Could it be possible that I am falling for him? Thought Kagome, trying to understand some of the new feelings she was having for the sake drinking flirt. What surprised her most was not the fact that she had feelings for Naruto, but that her feelings for Naruto seemed much stronger than the feelings she had for Inuyasha. I have only known him for about a month and already I am in love with him, but does he feel the same way? It took me much longer to fall for Inuyasha, but there was always something preventing Inuyasha and I from being together. With Naruto there is nothing preventing us being together except for the fact that I don't know if he feels the same way. Why does life have to be so complicated, thought Kagome with a sigh. Not long afterwards, Kagome finished her bath and put on her PJs, then headed off to bed. What she didn't know was that Naruto was having the similar thoughts as well as he stared at the ceiling. Kagome, she is too pure to be tainted by such a curse as myself. Yet still I can't seem to stop myself from getting as close to her as I can. Why does she affect me in such a way? Thought Naruto before he too fell asleep. Break. The next day Naruto woke up extremely early, but not because he wanted to, but because Kagome was making such a loud ruckus. What is all that noise? Groaned Naruto as he woke up. Kagome is late for school. Why don't you come get some breakfast while Kagome finishes getting dressed, said Mrs. Higurashi. Naruto just got up slowly, before stretching out to loosen his muscles. After he was done stretching, he heading into the kitchen and took a seat next to an old man that was giving him a strange look. Are you a demon like Kagome's other friend? Yelled the old man. Last time I checked I was human, but it wouldn't be the first time I have been called demon, said Naruto mumbling the last part. Mrs. Higurashi picked up tea he said and gave Naruto a confused look before returning to making breakfast. Soon breakfast was made and Mrs. Higurashi served everyone at the table. You know, if you keep making food this good you might just have me as a permanent house guest, said Naruto smirking. I'm sure Kagome wouldn't mind you staying at all, said Mrs. Higurashi blushing at the compliment. Mother, will you stop giving Naruto ideas? Said Kagome running into the room and getting herself a plate of food. I'm hurt Kagome-chan, I thought you would loved having me here, said Naruto feigning a pain in his heart. Well, or a better house guest than Inuyasha, mumbled Kagome causing Naruto to smirk. So, what is this I hear about you needing to go school? Asked Naruto. Oh my gosh, I need to get going, exclaimed Kagome before taking one last bite of her food then rushing out of the house. Bye mom, bye grandpa, yelled Kagome as she ran out of her home. She must love school, said Naruto surprised. No, she doesn't have much time for it as she once used to, so when she does get the chance to go she tends to overreact, said Mrs. Higurashi. Still I can remember when I had to go to the academy and gosh was that incredibly boring. Said Naruto shuddering at the memories. Oh, I'm sure there was at least something about school that you liked, said Mrs. Higurashi with a knowing smile. Okay, you got me there. I did enjoy spending time with my sensei. Baruka, said Naruto fondly as he remembered the only man he would ever call father. See, so you shouldn't be so quick to judge Kagome for her wanting to get to school, said Mrs. Higurashi with a look of victory in her eyes. Women always have to be right, grumbled Naruto with a smile. With Kagome. Hey Kagome, I see you no longer have the flu, said Eri smiling at Kagome. Yeah, replied Kagome with a sweat drop. So, how are you and your boyfriend doing? Asked Yuka curious. Kagome-chan, you didn't tell me you had a boyfriend, sigh. Voice behind the girls and Kagome was shocked to see Naruto smiling at her. All her friends were staring at Naruto with hearts in their eyes and Kagome couldn't help but stare with hearts of her own. He was wearing some modern-day black baggy jeans and a tight blue shirt that showed off all his well-defined muscles. The charming smile on his face only added to the effect of his overall hotness. He has even more muscles than Inuyasha, thought Kagome blushing. Earth to Kagome, you there, said Naruto giving her a weird look, which seemed to snap her and her friends out of their stare-in. Causing them to blush in embarrassment. What are you doing here? Asked Kagome. Well, I got to talking with your mother and she said it would be good for me to find something to do for the day because she would be out doing some chores. So I decided to hang with you and see what your school is like, replied Naruto with a smile. Kagome, introduce us to your friend, whispered Yuka, who kept blushing every time she looked at Naruto. For some reason Kagome found she getting angry that her friends were looking at her Naruto-kun like that. Wait a minute, since when did he become my Naruto-kun? Thought Kagome before she snapped back to reality. Sorry, Yuka, Eri, and Ayumi meet Naruto. Naruto meet Ayumi, Eri, and Yuka, said Kagome introducing Naruto to her friends. A pleasure to meet you all, said Naruto once again giving them his heartbreaking smile. The girls just swooned before fainting from the smile Naruto gave them, causing to give Kagome a weird look. Did you have to go and do that? Sighed Kagome as she woke her friends up. Sorry, said Naruto, giving her a questioning look. Never mind. Come on girls, we need to hurry and get to class. Naruto-kun, you'll have to go find something else to do while I'm in school. Sorry, said Kagome as she and her friends headed off to school. Naruto just watched Kagome leave before heading off in the opposite direction to explore the new place he was in. Break. Naruto spent the next 6 hours of the day exploring Kagome's world, and he could honestly say that he was very surprised and impressed with the many things he saw. Her world was so different than his. With the large buildings and the advanced technology, he saw many devices that could have helped him greatly when he was learning to be a ninja. Then again, if this technology were to fall into the hands of the wrong people like Orochimaru and Akatsuki, they would be able to spread a reign of terror like never before seen. Of course, Kyuubi and the other demons still were much more worse than any of the things he found in Kagome's world, but he didn't have to worry about them ever getting loose since they were all imprisoned for eternity by him except for the Kyuubi. If only he had been able to find the way to imprison the Biju sooner, then his world wouldn't have been destroyed. I better go see if Kagome is done with her classes, said Naruto before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. With Kagome, what a long day of school. I really wish Grandpa would stop telling people I'm sick and come up with a better excuse, thought Kagome as she walked off school grounds. Kagome-chan, wait up, yelled a voice behind her. Kagome turned around to see Hojo running towards her and just sighed. When will he ever give up chasing me? Thought Kagome with a sigh. Hey Hojo, said Kagome, putting on a fake smile. Hello Kagome, I see you were well enough to return to school again today. I could have sworn you would still be in bed from the flu, said Hojo with concern. Oh no, I am doing fine, said Kagome. Well, I brought you a gift, said Hojo, handing Kagome a basket full of many different items. They are from my mother's pharmacy. It contains many different things to help you with any illnesses you may have in the future, said Hojo, smiling. Oh, well thanks, said Kagome, taking the huge basket from Hojo. Well, I better get going. I hope to see you again Kagome-chan, said Hojo before running off. He seems like a nice guy. That your boyfriend, said Naruto, appearing at Kagome's side from out of nowhere. Kagome jumped in fright at Naruto appearing at her side. Where did you come from? Oh, and he is not my boyfriend and never will be, said Kagome. Naruto was very happy to hear that wasn't her boyfriend and that she didn't have any type of relationship with that boy. I just came back from exploring the city and I am glad to hear that that boy isn't your boyfriend, said Naruto, not realizing until too late about the last part of what he said. Oh, is that so? Why are you glad that he isn't my boyfriend? Asked Kagome, curious and giving him a hopeful look. Naruto just sighed before looking Kagome in her eyes. He was never good with all the feeling stuff. But he knew one thing, and that was he didn't like lying to the ones he cared about. For some reason this girl made him feel comfortable and he found himself telling her the truth. You already know the answer to that question, said Naruto. Kagome just smiled at Naruto for that, but she wanted more. Let's go home then, we can go out and explore the city some more, said Kagome before walking off back home. Naruto just gave Kagome a curious look before smiling and following behind her. Break. Naruto and Kagome were now spending their time exploring the city now that Kagome had dropped off her books at home. So where do you want to go first? Asked Naruto. How about a movie first? Asked Kagome. A movie? Hey, that sounds like a good idea. Lead the way, said Naruto with a smile. Kagome returned the smile and soon led him to the nearest theater. Naruto even allowed Kagome to pick the movie, a decision he soon regretted when Kagome picked some chick flick. What have I done? Thought Naruto as he was dragging into the theater. For the next 2 hours, Kagome leaned on Naruto's shoulder as they watched the romantic movie. Naruto could honestly say that he was bored out of his mind from the movie. But he loved having Kagome resting on him and mainly just stared at her during the whole movie. At the end of the movie, Kagome and Naruto left the theater and decided to go somewhere to eat next. Kagome was thankful that Naruto was nothing like Inuyasha when it came to food, otherwise he would just want to eat ramen. Are there any ramen restaurant in the city? Asked Naruto, which caused Kagome to fall anime style to the ground. I just thought for a moment that you would have different taste in food than Inuyasha, but you just proved me wrong, sighed Kagome. What's wrong with ramen? Asked Naruto as he hurried to catch up with Kagome. Kagome ended up taking them to a decent restaurant that did serve ramen for Naruto while she ordered a small salad. This is nice, said Naruto as he ate his food. You know Naruto-kun, if this is going to work you will have to tell me more about yourself, said Kagome with a blush. She didn't believe she just openly stated that she wanted to be with him. But she couldn't deny how happy and comfortable she felt around him. I know, but you may not like what you are going to hear, said Naruto gloomily. Kagome just grabbed his hand and gave it a squeeze. First of all, I am not from this world. I come from a very different world where ninjas rule, said Naruto. I always dreamed of growing strong and being leader of my ninja village. I trained as hard as I could and eventually I became strong enough where I had the power to protect the people I loved, but that was not to last, said Naruto as his hand trembled. Quote, a great evil was unleashed upon the land. A group of people tried to control this power, but they underestimated it and it backfired on them. I was too weak at the time to do anything as was forced to watch all those precious to me killed. Eventually, I regained my strength and came up with a way to seal away the evil that had ravished the lands. My plan succeeded, but it was too late and I was the only of my people left alive. My world had been turned into nothing but a wasteland of death and destruction. I sought to kill myself, but then something happened and I was transported to this world. I have been here ever since, said Naruto with tears in his eyes at the memories. He didn't tell her the whole story, but he did tell her mostly of what happened. He wasn't ready yet to go into detail and didn't know if he ever would be. I'm so sorry, said Kagome as she got up, sat next to Naruto, and held him tight. She could the waves of pain coming off of him and wanted nothing more than to be able to take away all of his pain. He has suffered an even worse fate than all those tricked by Naraku, thought Kagome. Naruto soon recomposed himself and gave Kagome a grateful smile. Thank you, but that is in the past and I have long since gotten over it, lied Naruto. I'm sorry for forcing you to talk about your past, said Kagome. No, don't be sorry, you deserved the truth, but could you keep this between us? I do not want anyone else to know because I do not like pity, said Naruto. I promise not to tell anyone, said Kagome. Naruto and Kagome sat in a comfortable silence for the rest of the meal and when they finished they headed back to Kagome's home. Thank you, I had a great time, said Kagome with a smile. No, it should be I thanking you, I have not had so much fun in a long time, said Naruto returning the smile. The two just stared into each other's eyes before Kagome broke the silence. Good night Naruto-kun, said Kagome before running inside her home. Naruto just watched her run inside and disappear from his view. Good night, Kagome-chan, said Naruto softly. Break. It seems you are regaining your resolve back. Ha ha. Soon I will finally have a worth opponent to challenge me, laughed Kyuubi in glee. It has been a week since Naruto had traveled through the well to Kagome's time and he could honestly say it has been the best week of his life. Ever since Kagome and he had that first date. The two have been going out every night to spend time with each other and getting closer each night. It had been years since Naruto felt as happy as he was and he had Kagome to thank for everything. Her heart was so pure that he found he could talk to her about anything and not feel guilty. He truly enjoyed his time with Kagome and was saddened that it was time for them to return to the past. The things that brought Naruto and Kagome closer was when she finally told him about what exactly happened to her when that baby demon had possessed her. She told L about how the demon used her hate and resentment of Kikyo to go into her soul and possess her. Naruto helped her overcome her feelings of hate and jealousy because he also knew the pain of loving one who only had eyes for someone else. Of course, Inuyasha did have feelings for Kagome, but he would never act on them because he felt he owed his love to only Kikyo. In the end, Kagome was very thankful for the help Naruto provided her and they became even closer since that day. I can't believe I am wishing that Naruto and I didn't have to go back to the past, thought Kagome. She had fallen for Naruto and it was even stronger than when she had fallen for Inuyasha. That caused another problem because she knew that Inuyasha would be devastated to know she had feelings for another man. Then if he was always carrying around feelings for another woman. Kagome darling, are you okay? Asked Mrs. Higurashi worried. It was the night before Kagome was planning to go back to feudal Japan and her daughter had been acting strangely. I don't know what to do anymore mother, said Kagome hugging her mother. Tell me what is wrong daughter, said Mrs. Higurashi. Ever since I have been spending time with Naruto-kun. I have been having the greatest times of my life, but I feel like I'm betraying Inuyasha, said Kagome confused. Honey, I remember when Inuyasha was the one you felt so deeply about. But I could always tell that Inuyasha would never be able to make you truly happy because you said he loved another woman. When I see you and Naruto together, I see that you two are perfect for each other. I know you still love Inuyasha and are afraid of hurting, but you must follow your heart and not let Inuyasha dictate your life and happiness, said Mrs. Higurashi looking down at her daughter with a smile. You always know what to say mom, said Kagome smiling at her mother. That is not the only thing on your mind is it? Asked Mrs. Higurashi knowingly. You know me too well mom, said Kagome with a smile. So what else is on your mind? Asked Mrs. Higurashi returning the smile. It's about Naruto. No matter how hard I get the feelings is hiding more than he is telling me. I understand he has had a horrible past. But I can feel that he has feelings for me so why won't he tell me the whole truth? I don't want to sound nosy, but I just want to get as close to him as possible, said Kagome with a sigh. I don't know what to tell you about that, but I'm sure he'll tell you when he is ready to tell you, said Mrs. Higurashi. Thank you mom, for everything, said Kagome giving her mom one last hug before she headed off to bed for the night. Anytime Kagome, said Mrs. Higurashi smiling as her daughter went off to bed. How long were you listening to us? Asked Mrs. Higurashi. I'm surprised you even knew I was here, said Naruto appearing from the shadows. I may not be a powerful priestess like my daughter, but I always was good at sensing people, said Mrs. Higurashi with a smile. You would have made a great ninja, said Naruto with a smirk. You haven't answered my question, replied Mrs. Higurashi still smiling. I heard all of what she said and I'm sorry for eavesdropping, answered Naruto. It's okay, but next time, please respect my daughter's privacy, said Mrs. Higurashi. Yes ma'am, replied Naruto scratching the back of his head. You will protect my daughter won't you? Asked Mrs. Higurashi seriously. With my life, said Naruto. Then start by trusting her with the full truth, said Mrs. Higurashi with a smile before walking away to go to bed. That woman would have made a great ninja, said Naruto aloud with a smirk. Break. Well, I guess it is time to go back, said Naruto taking a sip from his new bottle of sake. I really wish you would stop drinking that stuff, said Kagome glaring at Naruto. He just scratched his head sheepishly before putting his bottle inside his robes. I think the real thing you should worry about is how you were going to tell Inuyasha about how you have been hanging with me the past week without him trying to kill me, said Naruto with a grin. I may have to sit him a couple times, but I'm sure I can make him understand. Just don't provoke him like you do usually, said Kagome giving Naruto a knowing look. You wound me Kagome-chan, I would never provoke anyone, said Naruto in mock disbelief. Yeah, let's go already, said Kagome before jumping down the well. Naruto just took another quick sip of his sake before jumping down the well behind Kagome. Just like last time he was surrounded by bright lights except this time he had Kagome at his side. The lights soon ended as they were back in the past where Naruto picked Kagome up bridal style and jumped out of the cave with her in his arms. No offense, but I like the air much better in the past. It's much fresher and not polluted, said Naruto breathing in the fresh air before gently lowering Kagome to her feet. I agree with you there. This time has much more natural beauty than the future, said Kagome. Kagome, you're back, yelled Shippo before jumping on Kagome's shoulder. You know you have got to be the gentlest fox demon I know, said Naruto looking at Shippo. Hey, I'll have you know that I am able to take on demons 10 times my size, yelled Shippo shaking his fist at Naruto. Naruto just laughed the little fox demon's behavior before pulling out his bottle of sake. Kagome, I am glad to see you back and well, said Moroku coming into the clearing with Sango at his side. Moroku, Sango, it's good to see you two again, said Kagome smiling. Glad to see you as well Kagome, said Sango before Kagome gave her a hug. Naruto, we have been wondering where you have been this past week, said Moroku giving him a knowing look. Funny story, you see what happened was I got lost on the road of life, said Naruto taking a sip from his sake bottle. I see getting lost on that road of life didn't stop your drinking habits, said Sango. Kagome instantly turned to face Naruto and glared at him when she saw the sake bottle in his hand. Kagome-chan, don't listen to her, I was just looking at the beauty of the bottle. That is all, lied Naruto trying to protect his precious sake. Kagome just slowly walked up to him before raising her arm and signaling him to give her the bottle. My precious, said Naruto fondly as He slowly handed Kagome the bottle of sake. Thank you Naruto-kun, now where is Inuyasha? He is usually here by now demanding we get going, said Kagome curious. When we arrived at the village road he left to go find Kikyo and he hasn't come back all week, said Moroku. Oh, I see, said Kagome. She wasn't jealous or anything, she was actually happy because if Inuyasha kept spending time with Kikyo, he couldn't be mad at her for spending time with Naruto. Well, isn't that lovely, said Naruto before trying to sneak up on Kagome and get his sake bottle back. Right as he was about to take it, Sango's demon cat started to growl at him, which alerted Kagome to what he was trying to do. Don't even try it mister, warned Kagome. Stupid cat, grumbled Naruto before Kurara jumped on his shoulder and started to rub against his affectionately. Naruto just smirked before petting the cat behind its ears. So what will we do since Inuyasha isn't here? Do we wait for him or do we continue on without him? Asked Moroku. Waiting for him could take forever, especially if he is still trying to find Kikyo, said Sango. I say we wait a couple of days and if he doesn't show up by then we just continue without him, said Kagome before they all started to head down to the village. Sounds like a plan to me, I'm sure I can get some sake for Kaide, said Naruto. I wish I could sit you sometimes, sighed Kagome. I would love to see that, said Moroku before trying to grab Sango's butt. She just hit him over his head with her boomerang causing him to slam to the ground face first. I may have a drinking problem, but at least I know better than to grab my woman's butt without her wanting me to, said Naruto. Looking down at the fallen monk. Who is your woman Naruto? Said Moroku getting up extremely fast. Why Kagome-chan of course, replied Naruto winking at Kagome and causing her to blush heavily, but she didn't deny it. Inuyasha isn't going to like that one bit, said Shippo as he chewed on some candy. Inuyasha doesn't control me, huffed Kagome. Interesting, it seems Kagome doesn't mind being called Naruto's woman, said Moroku with a smirk. Do you really like him Kagome? Whispered Sango so that only Kagome could hear. Yes, answered Kagome with a blush. Isn't she just the cutest, said Naruto appearing besides the two women. They just jumped in surprise because they didn't even notice him. I can't wait until Koga and Inuyasha find out about this, it should prove amusing, said Moroku with a smile. Can't wait until I find out what? Asked Inuyasha as he jumped down in front of the group. Hey, good to see you again, I brought you a present, said Naruto before reaching into his robes and pulling out a dog toy ball. Here you go, have fun, said Naruto tossing the ball to Inuyasha with a smirk. Naruto-kun, what did I say about provoking him? Said Kagome sighing. I'm going to kill you, said Inuyasha before charging at Naruto who just laughed at his joke. Sit boy, said Kagome causing Inuyasha to slam to the ground. You tell me not to provoke him, but here you are telling him to sit, said Naruto shaking his head while smiling. He does make a good point, said Moroku trying to contain his laughter. Why do you always protect him? Accused Inuyasha glaring at Kagome. It's because she likes him, said Shippo while continuing to eat his candy. What? Growled Inuyasha. I can't help it, women all over fall for my charm, said Naruto winking at Sango who just knocked him to the ground like she did Moroku. You see, it isn't because I am a pervert that she knocks me to the ground. She just likes to beat up on men, said Moroku in triumph before Sango whom now had a vein showing on her forehead hit him to the ground. Don't get mad at me Inuyasha. You have been spending all your time with Kikyo from what I hear, said Kagome glaring at him. That is completely different, yelled Inuyasha back at Kagome. How is that? Asked Kagome. It just is, replied Inuyasha using his perfect reasoning to answer his question. Does he ever listen to what he says? Asked Naruto to Moroku and Sango as they watched the fight. No, he doesn't, but somehow he always believes his logic is right, said Sango. She didn't trust Naruto all that much, but she was happy that Kagome had found someone instead of waiting for Inuyasha. Inuyasha was a great friend, but she never liked how he would always choose Kikyo over Kagome and felt he didn't deserve Kagome. Keep it down, we don't want to interrupt them, whispered Moroku. I have known Kikyo for a long time and we barely know anything about this man. He just comes out of nowhere and you already choose him over me, growled Inuyasha. It is better this way, Inuyasha, you love Kikyo, and now you can be with her without worrying about my feelings getting hurt. Why can't you just accept that, or are you mad because you wanted not just Kikyo, but me as well? Said Kagome. Inuyasha had nothing to say that because he knew that she was right. He would always choose Kikyo over because he felt he owed Kikyo that much, but could she be right about him wanting both women? Faye, said Inuyasha before leaping away into the woods. Moroku and Sango were about to go comfort Kagome, but Naruto held them back. Leave her, she needs some time alone, said Naruto as he watched Kagome walk by herself to the village. He is right, Sango. There is nothing we can do for her or Inuyasha at the moment, said Moroku seriously. I hope they will both be okay, because Naraku could use this current hostility to his advantage to hurt them more. Said Sango. He can try, said Naruto before deciding to start walking towards the village again. Nighttime. How are you doing? Asked Naruto sitting down next to Kagome as she stared into the next sky. I'm okay, lied Kagome before leaning on Naruto's shoulder. You can't lie to me, Kagome-chan. I used to be a ninja and a very good one at that, said Naruto with a smirk. I feel so betrayed that Inuyasha would just accuse me of betraying him like that when he is always the one chasing after Kikyo back in the day when I would have done anything to see that he was happy. Said Kagome with tears coming down her beautiful face. Sometimes the ones we love most tend to hurt us in the worst ways, said Naruto with a knowing look in his eyes. Something like this happened to you? Asked Kagome wiping away her tears. When I was first starting out as a ninja, I didn't really get along with anyone on my team. It wasn't until after our first major mission I started to look at one of my teammates as a brother. Last thing I thought he would do was run away and abandon us, but in the end, he did. I confronted him and tried to bring him back, but he refused, so we fought, and in the end, I didn't have it in me to kill him, so I weakened my technique and let him hit me with his technique. I woke in the hospital a day later and found out he had escaped. Said Naruto, remembering vividly every little detail of what happened. Yes, but you weren't in love with him and he didn't break your heart, said Kagome, but understanding that to him he felt the same pain she felt. You didn't let me finish. 3 years later I met him again. I was much stronger than him this time and was able to bring him back home. He didn't stay though. The first chance he got he killed the guard watching over him and ran away again. At that point I decided the next time I met him I would finish him for good. My other teammate was a girl I loved deeply for a long time, but she was in love with the traitor. She accused me of some horrible things and broke my heart. I had loved her deeply and was willing to do anything for her, but she refused to see the truth and stayed loyal to the traitor. In the end, I was forced to not only kill my traitor of a teammate, but the girl that I loved as well because she tried to stop me from completing my mission. I know my situation is much different than yours, but I understand what it feels like when the one you love betrays your trust, and that is what Inuyasha has done to you, said Naruto smiling at Kagome, whom was crying at hearing his story. I'm so sorry you suffered that, said Kagome holding him tightly. Here I was trying to calm you down with showing you I understood your pain, but I just make you cry harder, said Naruto, causing Kagome to giggle. You tried and that is what counts, said Kagome happily. I know Inuyasha loves Kikyo and I have accepted that, but for him to openly say that I betrayed him just cut to the core. It is like all the adventures I have had with him and all the times I was with him mean nothing because I found someone that made me happy. It just isn't fair that he would accuse me of betraying him, cried Kagome. Naruto couldn't do anything but hold her and try to provide as much comfort as possible. She had such a pure heart, and for anyone to accuse her of an evil act made his blood boil. Just let it go, Kagome-chan, everything will be okay in the end. I promise, said Naruto as Kagome cried herself to sleep in Naruto's arms. When Naruto was sure she was fast asleep, he gently picked her up and carried her back inside the house. He gently opened her sleeping bag and laid her down it before kissing her on the forehead. Sleep well, Kagome-chan, said Naruto be he blur. Out of existence and delivered a hard kick to the person hiding behind the door. The said person didn't even see it coming until he received the kick in his stomach and was launched outside and skidded several feet on the ground. Inuyasha, I am surprised to see you, but not that surprised, said Naruto as he calmly walked over to where he was lying on the ground. Inuyasha struggled to stand up, but that kick had knocked the air out of him. He could honestly say that he had never been hit so hard in his life. I will give you one warning and only one warning, said Naruto as he leaned down over Inuyasha, who glared at Naruto. If you ever hurt Kagome-chan like that again, I will show you the true meaning of pain and suffering, said Naruto with his chakra flaring around him. Inuyasha was so scared that he couldn't breathe or move his limbs at all. He didn't know it, but the reason he couldn't move was because Naruto had directed a very concentrated blast of his killing intent upon the Hanyu. Once Naruto felt Inuyasha understood him, he released his killing intent, and walked back inside the building to get some sleep. Inuyasha watched him go before releasing the breath he didn't realize he was holding. Elsewhere, any luck on finding out where the last jewel shards are? Asked Kagura to the baby demon. No, these monks don't have the power necessary to feel for it, replied the infant. What shall we do now? Asked Kagura. Take me to the resting place of Entei, said the infant. Kagura merely nodded before created a huge feather that carried them away. Unknown location. Quote, this demon parasite Naraku could ruin my plans. I may be forced to destroy the pathetic bug. Soon, my dear boy, soon, I will be able to test my power of that against not only the strongest ninja, but that of all 8 of the other Biju. Said Kyuubi, smiling in glee. He remembered how mad he had been when he had managed to escape his seal and was planning to finally show the world he was the most powerful of all. But that damn boy had used some ancient seal to seal all of the Biju into himself to stop their destruction. Naruto couldn't take Kyuubi as well because he was too powerful, so he decided acting 8 out of the 9 Biju would be good enough before he died. Of course, he didn't count on the Kyuubi saving him from dying from the ceiling so he could fight him. Kyuubi then, seeing the broken boy, decided to send the boy away until he had regained his resolve back so that he would have a worthy opponent. Soon, we will meet soon, boy, and it will be a glorious battle where I will finally be able to show all that I am the most powerful, grinned Kyuubi manically. How long do you think those two will ignore each other for? Asked Naruto. I don't know, I've never seen them this angry with each other, replied Miroku. I think Inuyasha should just apologize. I mean, he has no reason to be upset that she moved on, said Sango before smacking away Miroku's hand. It had been a week since Inuyasha Kagome had had their huge argument, and since then they have been ignoring each other. Naruto, Miroku, and Sango have tried their best to stay out of it, but it was somewhat hard seeing as how they traveled with the two. Naruto tended to be in the worst position because he was now officially Kagome's boyfriend, so he always had to take her side, not that he wouldn't anyway just to piss of Inuyasha. Never a dull moment with you guys, said Naruto as he was about to drink some sake. You better not even think about it, mister, said Kagome with her back towards him. Do what? Asked Naruto heepishly as he put the bottle behind his back. Wow, she really does know you pretty well, said Miroku. It's not fair, it's like she has a sake sense and can tell when I'm about to drink some, whined Naruto. Miroku just laughed because he enjoyed seeing Naruto suffer because Naruto was always laughing at him when Sango beat him up. Maybe she should teach Sango how to sense when you are about to do something perverted, said Naruto with a smirk. You know that is a good idea, said Sango before running up to walk beside Kagome. No, do you realize what you have done? Asked Miroku in horror. Oh yes, I do realize, laughed Naruto evilly before he decided to try and drink some of his sake. Naruto-kun, what did I say? Asked Kagome once again with her back turned. Damn woman, she will be the death of me, said Naruto with a small smile as he put away his sake bottle. A day later, Naruto-kun, I'm starving, said Kagome giving him a puppy dog look. Eat then, said Naruto simply earning him a hit on his arm. She wouldn't be telling you she was hungry if she had food, said Inuyasha smartly. You're much smarter than people give you credit for, said Naruto giving Inuyasha a bored look. I have often said that as well, said Moroku sagely. What are you two talking about? Inuyasha is a complete idiot, said Shippo before Inuyasha started to wrestle with the fox. You know I really like that fox, said Naruto with a smile. Hey look a village, said Sango. Yes, Moroku I am counting on you to do your thing, said Kagome with a smile. I will do my best Kagome, said Moroku with a chuckle. Take a good look at that village, I'm afraid we won't find much in that village, said Naruto as he looked down upon the village. The group all gave Naruto a weird look before they all turned to get a good look at the village. They were shocked to see that the village was deserted and run down. It was as if it was ravaged by some demons and everyone was left for dead. Let's go. Maybe we can get some clues about Naraku if there are any survivors, said Moroku before the group headed down to the village. It didn't take long for the group to get down into the village and started to look for survivors. I can smell some demons over that way, said Inuyasha before running towards a fallen shrine. It seems they are hiding. Get ready, I am going to draw them out, said Moroku before unleashing his wind tunnel. Just as the temple debris was sucked into his hand, a large three-headed demon came out and Moroku closed off his tunnel. I got this, Wind Scar, yelled Inuyasha drawing his sword and killed the demon in one swing of his sword. Interesting sword, thought Naruto slightly impressed. That deals with that, said Inuyasha arrogantly. Look over there, it seems that section of the village still has some building and people, said Kagome as she started to walk over there. Oh hello strangers, what brings you to our town? Asked an old man smiling at Kagome and the others. Hello, we are just traveling through and we came upon your village. I was wondering if you could tell us what happened, replied Kagome. Yes, please follow me to my home and I will tell you what happened, said the old man leading the way to his house. 20 minutes later the whole group was sitting down in a living room eating some food while the old man told them what happened. A wind sorceress came through with an infant and attacked the head monk's shrine. I don't know exactly what happened between the monk and the sorceress, but rumor has it the infant got into the monk's soul before killing him, said the old man. Did you say that an infant killed the head monk? Asked Kagome in slight fear. Naruto put a comforting hand on her shoulder and then smiled at her to tell her everything would be okay. Kagome turned to look at him and started to calm down. It must have been Kagura and Naraku's reincarnation, said Inuyasha. Technically they are both his reincarnation, said Naruto before eating some of his rice. I wonder what Kagura and that infant keep attacking monks, said Moroku thoughtfully. Who cares? Let's just find them and kill them, said Inuyasha ready to go looking for them. Calm down Inuyasha, we don't even know where they are at. Could you tell us if there is any other powerful monk nearby? Asked Moroku. A powerful monk that is within this area that is still alive. Let me think for a moment. Oh, Monk Shizen would have to be the most powerful monk in the area, said the old man. You mean, the Monk Shizen? Asked Moroku in awe. You know him Moroku? Asked Kagome. Of course, he is practically a legend. He is known for his unrivaled abilities to seal away demons, said Moroku. Even I have heard of him. That makes him a very powerful and famous monk, said Sango. He is most widely known for his sealing of Entei the demon horse and his master, said the old man before he went to tell them the story of Entei and his master. The rumor was that the being that became Entei's master would be able to rule the world. Many humans and demons fought for the right to ride the great horse and in the end, the demon Rengokuki came out on top. He was then chosen by Entei to be his master and soon Rengokuki used Entei to raise havoc on many villages. Monk Shizen soon confronted Rengokuki and Entei. It was a long battle, but Monk Shizen managed to seal both Rengokuki and Entei away, said the old man. Yes, I remember the story from back when I was training to be a monk. How far away from here is Monk Shizen's shrine? Asked Moroku. If you leave now you can probably make it by nightfall, said the old man. Let's get going then, said Inuyasha. Thank you for the information sir, said Kagome bowing to the old man before she and the rest of the group left. Nighttime. Kagura has been here, I can smell her stench, said Inuyasha picking up the past. Usually Kagome would be riding on his back, but now she was sitting with Sango on the back of Karara while Moroku, Inuyasha, and Naruto ran on the ground. I hope we are not too late, said Moroku as they picked up the pace. A couple of minutes later the group landed outside the temple and calmly walked through the broken door to find a couple of bald monks leaning over a dead old man. What happened here? Demanded Inuyasha. Demon, yelled one of the young monks. We mean you no harm. We are just here to find out what happened, said Naruto with a smile. It seems we are too late. Kagura and the infant have already killed Monk Shizen, said Moroku saying a small prayer. How did you know that happened? Asked one of the monks. We heard that Kagura and the infant were killing monks for their spiritual power, so figured he would be coming here next, said Moroku. Yes, a wind sorceress. And an infant came through here and fought our master. He was only beaten because the sorceress attacked us and he was forced to protect us. The infant then tried to enter his soul, but our master was able to kill the demon child by cutting it in half. The sorceress left not too long ago with both halves of the demon child, said the young monk. Are you sure the infant was killed? Asked Naruto, knowing that the infant wouldn't die so easily. Yes, Master Shizen used that device to kill the infant, said the other monk pointing to the device in the monk's hand. Interesting, said Naruto examining the relic. The infant was talking about searching for the border between this one and the next, said the younger of the two monks. What is the border between this one and the next? Asked Inuyasha confused. Before anyone could give their opinion the ground started to shake. Oh no, the seal must be breaking, said the older monk. What seal? Asked Kagome. The seal that holds Entei, replied the monks before racing out of the building into the mountain that held Entei. It didn't take long for the group to reach the rock, and not long after the seal holding the demon horse was burned off. Entei emerged from the stone in all its flaming glory. Don't worry, I'll destroy this pathetic horse with my wind scar, said Inuyasha drawing his sword, but before Inuyasha could use his wind scar though, Entei released a huge blast of fire at him. Everyone move, yelled Inuyasha, grabbing Kagome and getting them to safety as Naruto just stood still. Ryu Sabakuryu, said Naruto calmly before the ground all around Naruto turned into a huge wave of sand and blocked the incoming fire. Kagome and the others watched in awe as a huge tidal wave of sand blocked the fire. When Entei finally finished his attack, Naruto and the others were protected by a huge wall of glass as Entei looked down upon them. What was that? Asked Moroku in awe. We can worry about what Naruto-kun did later. Right now we need to worry about that horse, yelled Kagome. Right, wind scar, yelled Inuyasha, unleashing his attack upon Entei. It looked like it was about to hit, but then Entei easily sidestepped the attack. Damn it, not only did it force me to use my powers openly in front of the others, but it's almost as fast as I am when using chakra to boost my speed, thought Naruto, as he watched Entei easily dodge all of Inuyasha's and Sango's attacks. Kagome was trying to take aim at the horse, but it kept moving and she was able to get a clear shot. Soon Entei started to pour up a huge amount of energy near its mouth and unleashed it upon the group. Stay behind me, said Naruto before rapidly performing hand seals. Doten. Doryuheiki, said Naruto before he spit out a huge amount of mud from his mouth and it solidified into a huge wall of earth. Entei launched his attack upon the wall and Naruto was forced to apply a huge amount of chakra into the wall in order to make sure it held against the powerful blast. Everyone quickly got behind Naruto just as the blast hit the wall. Damn it, said Naruto as he struggled to maintain the wall as the blast hit his wall dead on. A few seconds later, the blast disappeared and Naruto's earth wall crumbled to the ground. Have I really grown so weak? Thought Naruto as he fell to a knee and was panting heavily. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Asked Kagome, running to his side and looking at him worried. Yeah, I'm fine, but I really wish I had some sake, said Naruto as he stood slowly. It seems you have been hiding much from us, Naruto, said Moroku, with Sango and Inuyasha all giving him suspicious looks. Yeah, my explaining what that was all about, demanded Inuyasha. Maybe later. Right now we need to catch up to that horse because it is getting away. said Naruto as he finally regained his energy and took off after the fire horse. He is right, we must stop Entei before it does more damage, said Kagome and Moroku. Sango and Kagome hopped on Kurara while Inuyasha leapt from tree to catch up to the horse. Moroku took off running on the ground since he knew Inuyasha wouldn't carry him. The horse is too fast, we will never catch up to it, said Shippo. It is not trying to run away, it is headed to where its master is. Sealed, said Naruto running alongside Moroku. Of course, said Moroku in realization. The group ran after Entei for a few minutes and soon caught up to the demon horse because it landed on the ground in front of a sealed site. Naruto and the group came into the area just in time to see Entei's master being released from his sealed prison. Finally, I am free, said Rengokuki. That must be Rengokuki, Entei's master, said Sango. I don't care who he is, I am going to finish him off right here, said Inuyasha charging at the demon. Who are you? Demanded Rengokuki as he parried Inuyasha's sword. As Inuyasha battled with the demon, Naruto calmly stared at Entei who was staring back at him. The two seemed to be having a silent conversation, but it didn't last long before Rengokuki jumped onto Entei's back and rode off away from the group. Bastard, he got away, growled Inuyasha. We need to follow after him before he kills innocent people, said Moroku. That horse, for some reason, I feel as if it was calling to me, thought Naruto. Entei, said Naruto before disappearing in a yellow flash. Where the hell did that bastard man of yours go, Kagome? Growled Inuyasha. I don't know, said Kagome worried. Hurry, the sooner we find them the better, said Moroku. Follow me, I have their scent. I'll use it to find them, said Inuyasha before running off. Kagome, Moroku, Shippo, and Sango all got on Kurara and followed Inuyasha. With Naruto, I found you, Entei. But you are not alone with your current master, said Naruto, as he came into a clearing just as a mere child killed Rengokuki. Isn't that weapon a little big for you? Said Kagura with a smirk. I do not have time for your wise cracks, I must get used to my new body, said the child. The child then calmly walked up to Entei and from the way he was staring at the horse, Naruto knew it was time to intervene. I see you also feel drawn to the horse, said Naruto as he calmly stood in before Kagura and the child. You, said Kagura and Hakudoshi, he is the child. I see you remember me, said Naruto smiling. Who are you, human? Asked Hakudoshi. Merely a wanderer, but if you wish to know my name it is Naruto, said Naruto calmly. Leave now and I won't kill you, said Hakudoshi with a confident look in his eyes. I'm afraid that I have come for the horse and not you, said Naruto as he now stood calmly behind Hakudoshi. Hakudoshi and Kagura were both staring at Naruto in disbelief because they didn't even see him move. You can't be human, said Kagura in disbelief. It seems I will be able to get used to my new body by killing you, foolish human, said Hakudoshi before using the halberd to attack Naruto. Naruto calmly dodged every swing and jab from the halberd with ease. You cannot beat me and I do not wish to kill you, but if you continue to come at me then I will destroy you, said Naruto calmly dodging another swipe from Hakudoshi. Kagura, it seems I will need your help, said Hakudoshi before jumping back to stand at her side. Dance of the Dragon, said Kagura, before swing her fan in a full circle and release 4 powerful wind tornadoes at Naruto. Right as they were about to hit Naruto, a barrier of sand popped in front of him and easily blocked the attack. What the hell? Said Kagura staring in awe at what happened. Hakudoshi was about to use his own powers to crush Naruto when he felt a powerful presence behind him and turned around to see Naruto with a swirling ball of energy in his palm. Rasengan, said Naruto before slamming the ball of chakra into Hakudoshi. Hakudoshi tried to form a barrier to protect him, but Naruto's Rasengan was too powerful and easily broke through the barrier. The demon child screamed in pain as the Rasengan was slammed into his stomach. Naruto watched with an impassive look as Hakudoshi was incinerated by his Rasengan and nothing was left of the demon child. Unless you wish to suffer his fate, I suggest you leave now, said Naruto turning to face Kagura. Kagura's hands shook in fear as she reached for her feather and flew away. Now time to deal with you, said Naruto calmly walking up to Entei. Entei just stared at Naruto for a few seconds before kneeling down in front of him. You know if you Ally want me as your master, then we will have to work on the killing people thing, said Naruto as he petted the powerful horse demon on the head. The horse just bowed its head, signaling it would follow his orders. Okay, you can travel with me, but only because this is going to drive Inuyasha crazy, laughed Naruto before sitting down on the ground with the horse at his side. Entei just gave Naruto a questioning look as he pulled out a bottle of sake. Give me a break, this is like my only opportunity to have some of my beloved sake before Kagome gets here and yells at me, said Naruto, drinking some sake from the bottle. Ah, that sure hit the spot. You want some, buddy? Asked Naruto, offering some to the horse. Entei just stared impassively at Naruto, whom just shrugged his shoulders in response. Suit yourself, your loss, said Naruto as he enjoyed his sake. Break. Naruto woke up when he felt someone licking his face and realized it was Entei that woke him up. Oh damn, I must have fell asleep. Kagome is going to kill me, said Naruto as he got up and stretched out his muscles. Well buddy, you ready to get going? Asked Naruto. The horse just nodded his head in response, before kneeling down to let Naruto ride him. Oh don't worry about that buddy, I'll just walk, but thank you, said Naruto as he started to walk. Entei just gave him another curious look before it caught up to Naruto and walked at his side. Feel free to hunt any animals if you get hungry, but no humans, okay? Said Naruto. Entei was once again nodded before it continued to walk at Naruto's side. With Kagome. Where are you, Naruto-kun? Thought Kagome as she rode on Karara. Inuyasha, are we getting any closer? Yelled Moroku. The scent is getting stronger. I think they are just over that next hill, said Inuyasha, picking up his speed. It's weird, I can only sense Entei. I wondered what happened to its master, said Sango, using her training to feel out the demonic auras. It could be possible that Naruto was able to kill Rengokuki, said Moroku. That weakling, yeah right, scoffed Inuyasha. He is much stronger than you, Inuyasha Baka, said Shippo from Kagome's shoulder. Just wait, runt, after I deal with Entei. I am going to pound you into the ground, growled Inuyasha. Poor Shippo, why must you always pick on the little guy, said Naruto, appearing before the group with his sake bottle in hand. Naruto-kun, look out, yelled Kagome, whom was pointing at the demon horse standing beside him. Haraikatsu, yelled Sango, throwing her boomerang at Entei. Naruto shocked everyone by standing in front of Entei and catching Sango's boomerang. I knew it, you were against us the whole time, yelled Inuyasha before jumping at Naruto and was about to cut Naruto in half with his sword. Naruto-ju, Saint gave Inuyasha a bored look before throwing Sango's boomerang at Inuyasha, which he was unprepared for, and it slammed him into the ground. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? Asked Kagome, leaping off Karara and walking up to him. I'm sorry, but Entei is now my horse, so I can't let you harm him, said Naruto, sending Kagome an apologizing look. Naruto, Entei is a powerful demon, you can't expect it not to betray you, said Moroku as he prepared his wind tunnel. Inuyasha is a powerful demon as well, can you not trust him either? Said Naruto, pointing at the Hanyu. Inuyasha is different, replied D. Sango, helping the fallen Hanyu up and retrieving her boomerang. Kagome-chan, do you trust me? Asked Naruto. You know I do, Naruto-kun, answered Kagome softly. Then give me your hand, said Naruto, holding out his own hand. Kagome didn't even hesitate and put her hand in his. Naruto gently grabbed her hand, gently picked her up, and placed her upon Entei's back. Kagome, yelled Sango, Moroku, Shippo, and Inuyasha. Just relax, Kagome-chan, she will not harm you, said Naruto, smiling. Kagome instantly calmed down and Naruto nodded to Entei, which caused the horse to start to run around with Kagome on her back. The others watched in disbelief as Entei calmly rode around them with Kagome on her back. Kagome was still a little nervous, but eventually started to smile and laugh as she enjoyed the ride. 5 minutes later, Entei came to a stop next to Naruto and kneeled down to let Kagome off. How was it, Kagome-chan? Asked Naruto with a knowing look. It was great, but there was one thing that made me really mad, said Kagome. What was that? Asked Naruto, confused because he thought she enjoyed the ride. It was seeing you drink that sake of yours that I told you not to do, sighed D. Kagome before swiping the bottle out of his hands and knocking him over the head with it. Naruto didn't have time to respond as he was hit on the head and fell face first to the ground. "Next time I catch you with this bottle, you'll never be able to drink anything ever again," said Kagome crossing her arms. "I still say we kill that horse," said Inuyasha with his arms crossed. "Kagome, are you sure you are okay from that ride?" asked Sango worried. "Yes, I am fine," replied Kagome with a smile. "I see, when Entei chooses a master, its personality reflects the personality of its master. When Rengokuki was the master of Entei, all he wanted to do was conquer the world, so Entei became a merciless killing machine. Now that Naruto is its master, Entei reflects the calm and lazy attitude of Naruto," said Moroku as Entei gave everyone a bored look. "Are you saying that I have made Entei lazy?" said Naruto in fake outrage. "As long as Entei doesn't start to drink sake, I think everything will be okay," said Sango. "What would be wrong with that?" mumbled Naruto. "You didn't try to give Entei any sake, did you?" asked Kagome glaring at Naruto. "No way, I would never do that," lied Naruto with a smile before backing away from Kagome slowly. "How did you find Entei so fast anyway, and how did you do that thing with the sand and shooting mud from your mouth?" asked Inuyasha, trying to find something in order to get everyone to go back to being suspicious of Naruto. "I also have been wondering about that," said Moroku curious. "Are you a ninja?" asked Sango, surprising everyone including Naruto. "What makes you say that?" asked Naruto, covering his surprise. "My father and I once visited a ninja village when I was younger. The leader of the village was able to control some of the elements of nature. But he had to use hand seals just like you did to control them," said Sango. "Yes, I am a ninja. I am surprised you remember such abilities, seeing as how the ability to control elements has been lost to all ninjas of this time," said Naruto, impressed with Sango's knowledge. "Ninjas are assassins for hire. How do we know that you haven't been hired to get close to us so then you were in the perfect position to kill us?" asked Inuyasha. "You don't, but you'll just have to take my word for it when I say that I gave up on that life on long time ago. I am merely a wanderer now," replied Naruto. "I trust you," said Kagome. "He did save our lives multiple times," said Moroku. "He helps me make fun of Inuyasha, so I don't mind if he stays," said Shippo happily. "Why, you little bastard," growled Inuyasha at Shippo. "I am with Moroku. He has saved our lives multiple times," said Sango. "Faye, he can stay, but at the first sign of you betraying us I will make sure you are no more," said Inuyasha, crossing his arms across his chest. "Well, now that we have that settled, Kagome, would you like to ride on Entei instead of walking?" said Naruto with a smile. Kagome just squealed in delight before giving Naruto a quick hug and then climbing onto Entei. "Let's get going already," said Inuyasha. Jutsu list. Ryu Sabakuryu quicksand in the style of a waterfall. Doden. Doryuheiki, earth release, earth style wall. "You know, I really do think that Entei is getting lazier and lazier each day," said Kagome as she rode the horse. "Hey, I resent that," said Naruto as he walked beside Entei. "At least he isn't drinking sake like Naruto has been trying to get her to," said Shippo. Naruto grabbed Shippo and covered his mouth so that he wouldn't say anything else. "I don't know what he is talking about. The fox must be seeing things," said Naruto sheepishly as Kagome started to glare at him. "I am not seeing things. You tried it just the other night as everyone was asleep," yelled Shippo, jumping on Kagome's shoulder. "Naruto-kun," said Kagome dangerously. "You know, for Naruto being so powerful he gets beat up an awful lot by Kagome," said Sango to Moroku as they watched Naruto try to apologize to Kagome. "You are correct, my dear Sango," said Moroku before he tried to grab Sango's butt. Moroku's hand didn't get far before Sango knocked him into the ground before he got the chance to touch her butt. "Have to thank Kagome for teaching me her secret," said Sango with a smile. "Damn you, Naruto, for telling Sango to ask Kagome how to sense when I am doing something wrong," thought Moroku as he nursed the large bump on his head. "I still don't trust either him or his horse," said Inuyasha. Inuyasha tended to walk besides Moroku and Sango nowadays because so he wouldn't be anywhere near Naruto. He was still upset at Kagome, but not for the reason she was thinking. He was merely upset with her because she was always at Naruto's side, so he didn't get many opportunities to talk or be besides her. You just don't like Entei because the horse is possibly more powerful than you, said Moroku. Yeah right, I can easily beat that horse with my wind scar, said Inuyasha arrogantly. Inuyasha, that horse may have become exceedingly lazy of lately, but it is still much faster than any of us. How will you hit Entei with your wind scar when it is able to run circles around you? Said Moroku smirking. Fei, replied Inuyasha crossing his arms across his chest. Man, that woman, she is crazy, said Naruto appearing beside Inuyasha. If you would stop drinking sake then you wouldn't have such problems. Said Sango. That's like telling Moroku to stop being a pervert, said Kagome appearing at the other side of Sango. What happened to you riding Naruto's horse? Asked Inuyasha trying to ignore Naruto's presence. Entei went off to go hunt for some food, replied Naruto. I wasn't talk to you, growled Inuyasha. Don't worry buddy, I'll ask Entei if you can her when she gets back. Said Naruto putting his arm around Inuyasha. Inuyasha just went to hit Naruto, but instead of punching Naruto, he hit a large boulder instead. I love Kawarmi, said Naruto who was now walking besides Kagome. Naruto-kun, please stop provoking Inuyasha, sighed Kagome. You know you have some very interesting techniques, said Sango impressed by some of the things he was able to do. I guess, said Naruto not knowing how to respond to that. He was raised in a village where people used techniques like the ones he did daily so he couldn't understand how it might be impressive. To others when it came so natural for him. Is it possible to teach others how to use your abilities? Asked Moroku curious. Sure, but I'm not going to, replied Naruto. Ah, why not? Asked Shippo. My people may be dead, but I will not betray them by teaching foreigners my techniques. I am sorry, but my techniques will follow me to the grave, said Naruto seriously. Fei, like anyone would want to know such cheap tricks, said Inuyasha. Actually, I wouldn't mind learning a few, said Kagome. Neither would I, said Moroku. I understand how you feel Naruto, I would only teach my technique. UES to my apprentice or someone of my family, said Sango giving Naruto an understanding look. Well, if Naruto and Kagome ever have a child he'll have someone to teach, said Moroku with a perverted smirk before Sango and surprisingly Inuyasha knocked him over the head. Kagome just started to blush heavily and tried to hide it by looking down at her feet. We shall see, said Naruto with a smirk before Kagome stomped on his foot. Naruto screamed in pain and started to hop around on foot while giving Kagome a confused look. If I let you drink one bottle of sake will you shut up for rest of the day? Asked Kagome. Oh my gosh, yes I would do whatever you asked of me, said Naruto as he got on his knees. Kagome just sighed before tossing Naruto his sake bottle, which he caught and then hugged to his body. Everyone just stared at Naruto in disbelief as he started to talk to his sake bottle and tell it how much he missed it. He treats it as if it is his child, said Sango as she stared at Naruto. You know, I was thinking about how we could get to the barrier between this world and the next, and I remembered how Inuyasha first got Tessaiga. We used the black pearl in his eye to get to the other side, remember? Said Kagome changing the subject. Yeah, the pearl was made by Hosenki, said Inuyasha. If we go see Hosenki then we may be able to have him make another pearl to help us get to the other side. Said Moroku in realization. I wonder what the afterlife looks like, said Naruto with a haunted look in his eyes. Maybe I can finally join my friends in death, thought Naruto with a smile. Naruto-kun, I hope you aren't planning on staying in the world of dead if we find the way, thought Kagome worried. How will we find this Hosenki? Asked Sango. I will go see the old man Totosai and ask him where I can find Hosenki, said Inuyasha before taking off away from the group. I take it he doesn't want us to come with him, said Naruto as he watched Inuyasha leave. We will follow after him anyway. Just at a slower pace, said Moroku. Break. Princess Abby, I have come seeking to help you cure the poison that ails your mother, said Naraku standing before the demon princess. Why should I accept your help, half-demon, sneered Princess Abby. I present you with this, it will protect you while you hunt for human blood to give to your mother, said Naraku present Princess Abby with a powerful halberd. Princess Abby took the halberd and looked it over. This is indeed a powerful weapon, I accept your offer for now, said Princess Abby before turning her back on Naraku and leaving. Naraku just smirked before he disappeared as well. Break. Hello Totosai, you there? Asked Kagome as the group slowly made their way into the cave. So this is where the great sword maker lives, huh? Said Naruto looking around the messy cave in disgust. He may not live in the best conditions, but no one can deny his great sword-making ability, said Sango. Indeed, said Moroku agreeing with the demon slayer. Oh there he is, said Kagome pointing to a sleeping old man near the back of the cave. I'll wake him up. Fox fire, yelled Shippo conjuring a blue flame and throwing it at the old man. The old man jumped wide awake and ran around the cave screaming as the fox fire burned his cloak. Naruto got tired of the screaming and performed a small water jutsu to put out the flames. Phew, thanks young one, said Totosai before he tried to go back to sleep. Wait, we came to ask you if Inuyasha came by here, said Kagome blocking Totosai's path. Inu who? Asked Totosai giving Kagome a blank look. Does the old man always pretend to not understand what is going on? Asked Naruto taking a sip of his sake. Eventually, Kagome was able to get Totosai to remember if Inuyasha came by and told them where Inuyasha headed off to. Well, at least we were able to get him to tell us relatively fast. Usually it takes a lot longer for him to give us any information, said Kagome. Which direction did Inuyasha head off in? Asked Moroku. He headed off west to that large mountain, said Kagome pointing to a mountain that looked to be a few miles away. If he didn't rush off, he wouldn't have to climb that mountain and could have had Entei or Karara fly him up there, said Naruto. He still would have climbed because he doesn't like to receive help, said Sango. Why don't you all go ahead and find Inuyasha? I need to go check on something else, said Naruto as he walked away from the group. Naruto-kun, where are you going? Asked Kagome running up to him. I just need to check something out. I promise I will be back soon Kagome-chan. Take care of her while I am gone Entei, said Naruto kissing her hand before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Entei just nodded at Naruto before standing at Kagome's side. That human is more powerful than Inuyasha's father, thought Totosai as he watched Naruto disappear. Kagome, I am sure Naruto will be fine. We must find Inuyasha and make sure he is alright, said Moroku. Right, let's go then, said Kagome hopping on Entei's back. With that said, the group took off towards the mountain where Inuyasha had headed off to earlier. With Naruto, now just need to see which direction the demon scent is coming from, thought Naruto before closing his eyes and using his nose to smell for the demon he was looking for. Found you, said Naruto with a smirk before taking off so fast that to the naked eye he was merely a distortion in the wind. Few days later, it seems I am not the only who has found this area interesting, said Naruto as he examined the many dead bodies of villagers. The last couple of villages that he had passed were all destroyed and the humans were sucked dry of their blood. What could be doing all this? Wondered Naruto as he gathered all the bodies and started to pile them up. It didn't take long before Naruto had put all the dead bodies in a huge pile and then he made a few hand seals. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu, said Naruto before taking a deep breath then releasing a huge fireball from his mouth. The fireball easily burned all the bodies to ash as Naruto did a small prayer for the dead. Rest in peace, said Naruto before staring off in the distance. It seems you are also headed in this direction Kagome-chan, said Naruto before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Break. Still can't find the nest where these demon birds are coming from, said Moroku as they traveled through the village. I want to know why instead of eating their prey, they are sucking them dry of blood, said Sango. Who cares why they are doing what they are doing, we just have to kill them, said Inuyasha. That'll be kind of hard seeing as how your wind scar doesn't work on Princess Abby and she is the leader of the bird demons, said Moroku. It is only because she has that damn halberd, said Inuyasha. Either way, we still need to find their nest, said Moroku. Kagome just silently listened to the conversation. But her mind was on other things. Naruto-kun, where are you? Thought Kagome as she continued to worry about him. Break. It seems I have found you, said Naruto with a smirk as he looked upon a huge castle. He had traveled quite a way to get to the castle. Well, that was a lie. He took a long detour because he needed to get some more sake, but in the end he found the place. Lucky for him it was nighttime, so it would be easy for him to sneak in, or so he thought. Just as he was about to sneak into the castle, a large amount of demon birds being led by a woman with a large halberd started to attack the castle. Just my luck, sighed Naruto as he started to kill any birds that got in his path as he made his way through the castle. Elsewhere, up ahead, look, said Go, pointing to a large castle that was being attacked by many demon birds. It seems we have found Princess Abby, said Moroku. Let's go, said Inuyasha, taking off in front of the group. Kagome was riding on top of Entei when the horse started to pick up speed. What is the matter, Entei? Is Naruto-kun in trouble? Asked Kagome, worried. Entei just nodded his head before picking up the pace. With Naruto. Boy, we are counting on you to protect our lady, said one of the men. Of course, said Kohaku. Kohaku, kill everyone and bring the infant to me, said Naraku in Kohaku's head. Kohaku's eyes soon became clouded over and he soon started to attack the men that he was helping earlier. Once they were all dead, he turned to face the noblewoman and her servants. My lady, he has betrayed us, we must get you to safety, said one of the female servants. Before the women could get the noblewoman and her child to safety, Kohaku had already moved to strike them down, but he was knocked away before he could reach them. Sorry, but the child will be coming with me, said Naruto, standing between Kohaku and the women. What do you want with my son? Asked the noblewoman. That child isn't your son. You have only been made to think it is your son, said Naruto, calmly walking towards the woman. You lie, this is Our Lady's child, yelled one of the servants. Naruto was about to say more, but was forced to duck as Kohaku tried to use his chain blade to cut him in half. Boy, don't make me destroy you, I have no quarrel with you, said Naruto, getting annoyed by Kohaku. The boy just stared at Naruto with clouded eyes and was about to attack him again when Sango and Kurara appeared between them. I will deal with my brother Naruto, please don't interfere, said Sango. Sango, you are not a foolish woman. You should know better than most that the boy there isn't your brother. He is merely a shell, but I will not interfere, said Naruto, turning back to the noblewoman. Please hand over the child, said Naruto. The women once again refused, which caused Naruto to sigh before he disappeared and reappeared behind the women. Forgive me, said Naruto before delivering a chop to the back of each woman's neck. After they were all knocked out, Naruto picked up the small child and then pulled out a large scroll. You shall be sealed away until the final battle, said Naruto before performing a few hand seals and sealing the baby demon inside the scroll. Well, that concludes my mission, said Naruto before pulling out a bottle of sake and taking a sip. I best go see how Kagome-chan is doing. Otherwise she is going to kill me, said Naruto before leaping on the roofs to where he sensed Kagome was. He would have helped Sango deal with her brother, but he said he wouldn't interfere and he always kept his word. With Kagome, filthy half-demon, I will have my revenge, said Princess Abby before disappearing. Inuyasha, are you okay? Asked Kagome, worried. Yeah, I'm fine, I can't believe I let her get away again. Growled Inuyasha. Oh well, you know how the old saying goes. You win some and you lose some, said Naruto as he calmly walked towards Inuyasha, Kagome, Entei, and Shippo. Naruto-kun, yelled Kagome happily as she jumped of Entei's back and glomped him to the ground. If I had known that was waiting for me I would have returned sooner, Kagome-chan, said Naruto with a smirk. You jerk, you had me so worried, said Kagome, hitting him on the arm. I'm sorry, next time I'll send you a letter letting you know I'm okay, said Naruto as Kagome helped him up from the ground. Faye, I don't mind if you stay gone, said Inuyasha. I love you too, Inuyasha, said Naruto, winking at Inuyasha. Inuyasha just growled and was about to attack Naruto, but was sat by Kagome. Naruto-kun, if you keep provoking Inuyasha I am going to have a seat of beads made for you so I can sit you as well, said Kagome, glaring at Naruto threateningly. Yes ma'am, said Naruto with a salute. Come on, we need to help any survivors get out of here and help get rid of the fire, said Kagome, hopping on Entei. Naruto and Inuyasha merely grunted before going to help look survivors. 2 days later. Are you sure that Princess Abby's nest is located over here? Asked Moroku as the group traveled through the mountains. Yes, her scent is getting stronger, replied Inuyasha. The group traveled for another 10 minutes when Inuyasha started to growl in anger. What is wrong, Inuyasha? Asked Kagome. It's Naraku. I smell him now as well, said Inuyasha, picking up the pace. The group soon arrived in a clearing where Naraku was talking with Princess Abby and her mother, a very large demon bird. You half-demons are disgusting and I have had enough of your presence, said Princess Abby. She was about to attack Naraku, but he saw it coming and stabbed her through her chest with his hand. Princess Abby just stared in shock at Naraku, not believing some half-demon was able to kill her so easily. Naraku just looked at Princess Abby in disgust before tossing her body to the ground, and then before her mother could respond, cutting off the demon bird's head. So much for Princess Abby and Naraku being allies, said Naruto as he watched the whole display with an impassive face. Inuyasha, welcome. I see you are just in time to follow me to the afterworld so that I can retrieve the jewel shard that is hiding there, said Naraku with a smirk. You bastard, I am going to kill you right here, said Inuyasha before unleashing a wind scar at Naraku. Naraku just smiled as his barrier easily blocked the attack. If you wish to find the last jewel shard before me, then you best hurry and follow the river of blood, said Naraku before he took off and followed the river of blood that came from Princess Abby's mother's headless body. Great, following a river of blood. My life wasn't complete until I got the chance to do that, said Naruto before hopping on Entei behind Kagome. Kagome just blushed as Naruto wrapped his arms around her, but hid it very well. The group then followed after Naruto, and it didn't take them long to follow the river of blood to the end where a large portal leading to the other side was waiting for them. The other side? I wonder what it is like, thought Naruto as the group jumped through the portal. You know, the afterlife isn't as grand as I thought it would be, said Naruto, disappointed. All they had seen so far were undead birds and many white clouds. I don't think this is the real afterlife, Naruto, merely the border between the afterlife and the living. This isn't the true afterlife, said Moroku. How disappointing, said Naruto with a sigh. Do you really wish that much to join those among the dead, Naruto-kun? Wondered Kagome. Look over there, my father's grave, said Inuyasha before leaping off Kurara and landing on the skeleton of his deceased father. That is Inuyasha's father. He must have been a very powerful demon lord, said Sango in awe. Indeed, I see now why his fangs were able to produce such powerful swords, said Moroku, agreeing with Sango. He isn't that big, said Naruto, unimpressed. They all just looked at Naruto as if he had grown a second head. What, he isn't? I've seen much bigger. You know that didn't come out right, said Naruto, laughing while Sango and Kagome blushed at the innuendo. Hey Inuyasha, over there, I sense a jewel shard, said Kagome, pointing to a spot near Inuyasha's father neck. Inuyasha just nodded his head before walking over to where Kagome was pointing. He didn't have to walk far before a demon emerged from the bones and glared at Inuyasha. The jewel shard glowed brightly on its forehead, but the jewel shard was glowing with malicious power. Who dares disturbs the sanctuary of the dead? Growled the demon. Hosenki, said Inuyasha as he saw how he looked like the demon that said it was Hosenki's son. Inuyasha, son of the great dog demon, you do not belong here, said Hosenki. This is Hosenki, but I thought you said that Hosenki had died. What is he doing on the border between life and death? Asked Moroku, curious. I was on my way to the afterlife when I felt something calling to me. I sought out what was calling to me, thinking that it would lead me to my final destination of death, but it turned out it was a piece of the sacred jewel shard. The shard was crying out to me in pain, so I decided to guard the shard and protect it from the pain of the real world, said Hosenki. Hosenki, please give us the shard. Naraku is lurking around somewhere, and if he gets the shard before us, then he will surely use the shard for evil, said Kagome, trying to reason with the demon. I will not give up this shard. If you want it, you will have to take it from me, said Hosenki before releasing a large barrage of diamond shards at the group. Entei and Kurara were easily able to dodge the attacks, while Inuyasha was forced to use his sword to shield him from the attack. Naruto-kun, can you help Inuyasha fight Hosenki? Asked Kagome, giving him a puppy dog look. I would, but you do realize that Inuyasha would refuse to work with me and we would probably get in each other's way, said Naruto. He is right, Kagome. If Naruto helped, Inuyasha would be too busy yelling at Naruto than fighting, said Moroku. Naruto-kun, don't look so happy, said Kagome, glaring at him. Naruto just leaned down and whispered into Kagome's ear, causing the poor girl to blush at the contact. Oh come on Kagome-chan, I know you much prefer to have me here with you, whispered Naruto with a smirk. How does he get away with doing stuff like that? But every time I try to be romantic I get hit over the head, sighed Miroku. Maybe because all you do is grab Sango's butt, said Shippo, riding on Sango's shoulders since Naruto had threw him off of Kagome's shoulder a while ago. No one understands the way I show my affection, said Miroku sadly. Yeah right you pervert, said Sango. Naruto-kun, I really wish I had a bead necklace for you, said Kagome with a small smile. I'll let you put one around my neck if you let me drink my sake whenever I want, said Naruto with a smirk. I'll have to think about it, said Kagome, giving Naruto a thoughtful look. Kagome, it seems Inuyasha has been able to weaken Hosenki, said Miroku, pointing down to where Inuyasha was battling the demon. Kagome and Naruto looked down to see that Inuyasha had indeed been able to weaken the demon. Inuyasha may have been able to weaken Hosenki, but he has other problems to worry about, said Naruto, pointing at Naraku, who just appeared behind Hosenki and stole his shard. I must thank you Inuyasha for helping me get this shard, said Naraku with a smirk. His smirk didn't last long before he was on the receiving end of Sesshomaru's Tokijin, which cut Naraku's arm. Sesshomaru, I see you have made it here as well, said Naraku as his arm reformed itself. Inuyasha was about to attack Naraku himself, but was stopped by Hosenki. Inuyasha, fight me and I will teach you a new technique that you can use to defeat Naraku, said Hosenki. Fight him Inuyasha, I will make sure Naraku doesn't escape before you can have your revenge, said Naruto with his back turned to Inuyasha. Faye, replied Inuyasha before he went off to finish his fight with Hosenki. For a moment there I thought I would have to argue with the stubborn bastard, said Naruto as he drank some sake. Naruto-kun, yelled Kagome as she saw him drinking some his sake. Damn it, said Naruto before putting away his bottle of sake. You happy now woman? Asked Naruto, glaring at Kagome. Yes I am, said Kagome with a smile as she ignored his glare. Why is Inuyasha still fighting Hosenki? I mean he is no longer evil, said Miroku as he landed on skeleton next to Naruto. The clam said something about teaching Inuyasha a new attack with his sword, said Naruto, missing his sake. A new attack for his sword, but isn't Tessaiga powerful enough as is? Said Sango. I don't know, I always thought his sword was pretty weak, but that is just my opinion, said Naruto, causing everyone to give him weird looks. Fine, I admit it is mildly powerful, but nothing to brag about, said Naruto. Only you would think that Tessaiga is a weak sword, said Miroku with a small smile. Yeah, let's just watch the fight between Sesshomaru and Naraku. It should prove to be interesting, said Naruto as he looked up into the sky where Naraku and Sesshomaru were staring each other down. Sesshomaru got tired of looking at Naraku and used Tokijin to launch a powerful energy blast at Naraku. Naraku just smirked and easily blocked the attack with his barrier. It seems that Sesshomaru will have to find a way to destroy Naraku's barrier before he can even harm him, said Miroku. Entei, protect Kagome-chan, I am going to help Sesshomaru, said Naruto before he disappeared in a yellow flash. Is that all the power you possess? I expected more from the great lord of the west, said Naraku with a smirk. Maybe I can help even the odds, said Naruto, appearing in front of Naraku. You again? You are becoming a major thorn in my side, said Naraku before tons of tentacles burst from his back and started to attack Naruto. Naruto just continued to smile as he started to easily dodge Naraku's attacks by leaping from one tentacle to another. Stay out of my fight human. Your help is not required, said Sesshomaru as he tried to cut Naraku in half. Once again, Sesshomaru's attack was stopped due to the barrier protecting Naraku. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu, said Naruto before taking a deep breath, then exhaling multiple fireballs at Naraku. Everyone just watched in awe as fireballs the size of a small child flew at Naraku. The barrier protecting Naraku protected him somewhat, but the explosion of the fireballs hitting his shield knocked him back, crashing into the nearest mountain. Put more power into that than I wanted, saw said Naruto sheepishly as he scratched the back of his head. Interesting. It seems ever since I used Shukaku's abilities my chakra has returned to normal and I am no longer feeling strained. I wonder how long that will last though, thought Naruto as he landed back on the skeleton of Inuyasha's father. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Asked Kagome running up to him. Yeah, I am fine, but stay back, Naraku isn't finished yet, said Naruto as he watched Naraku emerge from the destroyed mountain. I have never seen a human use such techniques before. I will take great pleasure in torturing you to find out all your secrets, said Naraku before he unleashed a godly amount of tentacles upon Naruto and Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru just used Tokijin to destroy the tentacles while Naruto used the tentacles as stepping stones to get closer to Naraku. Is it just me or is Naruto even faster than Sesshomaru? Asked Sango in awe. He is no ordinary human, said Moroku as he too watched the fight in awe. Die human, said Naraku as he impaled Naruto with 3 of his tentacles. Naruto-kun, yelled Kagome with tears streaming down her face. You almost had me, but not quite, said Naruto as he was now behind Naraku. How? Asked Naraku as he turned to see a log impaled by his tentacles instead of Naruto. Hey Naraku, say boom, said Naruto with a smile before he exploded. Naraku screamed in pain as half of his body was destroyed in the explosion. What was that? Asked Shippo. Bunshin Debakua, said Naruto as he calmly stared up at Naraku as the demon regenerated his body. What Naruto failed to realize was that Sesshomaru had made his way close to Naraku and was caught in the blast as well. Sesshomaru was now holding his bleeding side as he struggled to stand. Such a powerful attack and he is only a human, thought Sesshomaru. It would be a lie to say Sesshomaru wasn't surprised and impressed by Naruto's abilities. You know that regenerative ability of yours is getting annoying, but that will soon end. It is time for you to die, Naraku. Forgive me, Inuyasha, but I will be ending him, said Naruto, disappearing again in a yellow flash and behind Naraku. Foolish human, I cannot die, laughed Naraku. Naruto just smirked before performing some hand seals, but before he could finish them he was forced to dodge a barrage of crystals that were sent at Naraku and him. Naraku is mine, yelled Inuyasha as he raised his sword to send another attack at Naraku. Inuyasha, you fool, you'll hit Naruto-kun, yelled Kagome. I don't care, if anyone is going to kill Naraku it is going to be me, growled Inuyasha. Ha ha, until we meet again human, said Naraku before disappearing. Real smart Inuyasha, congratulations on letting him escape, said Naruto clapping his hands sarcastically. Inuyasha, I must say that was the stupidest thing you have ever done, said Moroku disappointed in the Hanyu. Sango didn't say anything, but you could tell that she wasn't too happy with Inuyasha either. You could have seriously hurt Naruto-kun, yelled Kagome extremely upset with Inuyasha. Faye, he shouldn't have got in my way then, said Inuyasha arrogantly. I think it is time we settled this, Inuyasha. Right here right now, said Naruto standing in front of the Hanyu. My pleasure, said Inuyasha drawing his sword. Inuyasha sit, started Kagome, but was stopped by Naruto. Kagome-chan, please stay out of this, said Naruto. Naruto-kun, said Kagome looking at him worried. Trust me Kagome-chan, I will deal with him, said Naruto with a smile. Kagome just nodded BEF. Or hopping on Entei's back and flew off into the air. Moroku and Sango followed her as they hopped on Karara's back. Come now Inuyasha, there is nothing to stop you from attacking me now, said Naruto smiling. You're going to regret ever pissing me off, said Inuyasha before charging at Naruto. Jutsu list. Bunshin Debakua clone great explosion. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu fire release. Phoenix immortal fire technique. Come Inuyasha. Now you have nothing to stop you from attacking me now, said Naruto smiling. I am going to enjoy kicking you ass, you bastard, growled Inuyasha charging at Naruto. Naruto just stood still and calmly watched as Inuyasha rushed at him in blind rage. He reminds me of myself, before the war started, thought Naruto with a sigh. Just as Inuyasha was about to cut Naruto in half, Naruto calmly sidestepped the attack and delivered a swift kick to Inuyasha's gut. You leave yourself to open, said Naruto before grabbing Inuyasha by the arm and slamming him to the ground. Getting angry only clouds your vision, you must stay calm and keep a clear head, said Naruto, releasing Inuyasha and waiting for the Hanyu to stand back up. Inuyasha just growled at Naruto before he stood up and once again started to try to cut Naruto in half. Naruto just sighed before he ducked under the blade and then delivered a kick to Inuyasha's jaw, knocking him up into the air. In the past, Naruto would have had to use clones to perform his combo attack, but not anymore because of how fast he had become. Uzumaki Naruto Renden, said Naruto from behind Inuyasha before he delivered a swift kick to his back. Inuyasha was bounced around as Naruto kept appearing in front of him and scoring multiple hits on him. Naruto finished it by delivering a hard axe kick to Inuyasha's head, which skyrocketed him to the ground in a large explosion of dust. Wow, did you see that? Inuyasha is getting beat easily, said Shippo in awe of Naruto's abilities. It seems Inuyasha chose the wrong opponent, said Moroku as he calmly watched the fight, if it could be called that. Naruto-kun, please don't hurt him too badly, said Kagome softly. Is that all you have to offer, Inuyasha? Ho! Do you expect to beat Naraku when you cannot lay one finger on me? Said Naruto seriously. Take this, you bastard, wind scar, said Inuyasha, unleashing his sword's attack upon Naruto. Naruto didn't even make the effort to move and let the attack hit him straight on. How was Inuyasha able to use the wind scar on Naruto? I thought it only worked against demons and not humans, said Sango. It seems that Inuyasha is able to use it against anyone now, said Moroku. That or Naruto has some demon blood in him, thought Moroku. Not so cocky anymore, are you? Said Inuyasha with a smirk. You should never let your opponent get behind you. Now take this, Konoha's ultimate taijutsu style. 1,000 years of pain, said Naruto before making a hand seal and then poking Inuyasha in the ass. Inuyasha just howled in pain as he was launched into the air and crashed face first into his father's skull. Did he just do what I think he did? Asked Sango with a sweat drop. I can't believe he just did that, said Moroku, shaking his head. Naruto-kun, what am I going to do with you? Said Kagome, putting her face in her hand. Ha ha, laughed Shippo as he clutched his stomach. You bastard, I am going to kill you, said Inuyasha, holding his butt before attacking Naruto with everything he had. You still haven't learned to control that anger, said Naruto as he easily caught Inuyasha's sword hand. Naruto then tightened his grip, making Inuyasha howl in pain before dropping his sword. You won't be needing that sword anymore, said Naruto before delivering a kick to Inuyasha's chest, knocking him away. Blades of blood, yelled Inuyasha, unleashing his blood in the form of blades at Naruto. Naruto just jumped away, easily dodging the attack, but he didn't have time to dodge Inuyasha, who had somehow managed to get behind him. What did you say earlier? Don't let your opponent get behind you. Iron Reverse Soul Reaper, yelled Inuyasha, bring his claw down to hit Naruto. Kaden, yelled Naruto before releasing his chakra out of all his tenkatsu and spinning like a top. Inuyasha's attack was easily blocked and Inuyasha was knocked away into the ground at high speeds. I got T. Oh, thank Neji and Hinata for teaching me that, said Naruto as he landed on the ground in front of the fallen Hanyu. Now that was a powerful attack, the whole area was bathed in the power of that move, said Moroku. It seems Naruto really is a ninja to have so many hidden tricks up his sleeve, said Sango. Give up, Inuyasha, you cannot beat me, at least not until you learn to gain some control over your emotion, said Naruto as he watched Inuyasha struggle to stand. I refuse to give up, you bastard, said Inuyasha as he struggled to stand. Inuyasha had bruises all over and he was bleeding from numerous cuts. Forgive me then, said Naruto before disappearing and reappearing behind Inuyasha. Inuyasha didn't have any time to respond before Naruto delivered a hard chop to the back of Inuyasha's neck, knocking him out instantly. I see you were easily able to dispatch of my weak brother, said Sesshomaru, standing in front of Naruto. You know, I heard of how he was able to beat you a few times. So what does that say about your own power? Said Naruto with a smirk as he performed some hand seals before placing his hands over Inuyasha. Just like when he first healed Sango, Kagome, and Moroku. Naruto's hands started to glow green and he started to heal all of Inuyasha's cuts and bruises. Next time we meet I will be the one you will be facing down, said Sesshomaru before walking away. Such an interesting guy, said Naruto as he finished healing Inuyasha. Just as he finished healing Inuyasha, the others had landed on the ground near Naruto. Naruto-kun, was that fight really necessary? Asked Kagome as she checked him over for any injuries. It was going to happen sooner or later, better to get it out of the way now than worry about it later, said Naruto as Kagome just gave him a hug. Yes, well I don't think Inuyasha will be underestimating you again anytime soon, said Moroku. I think that goes for all of us, said Sango. Oh that reminds me, here you go Kagome-chan, said Naruto pulling an almost fully completed Shakan jewel out of his robes. Oh my gosh, where did you get this Naruto-kun? Asked Kagome as she took the jewel shard from Naruto and instantly purified it. I stole it off Naraku before he escaped. Oh and here are some more shards, the one from Hosenki and my own that I collected, said Naruto handing over 4 other shards. This whole time you had your own jewel shards. How come Kagome wasn't able to sense them, said Moroku shocked. Like I told Kikyo, my robes are able to block out certain abilities to protect whatever I tend to have underneath them, said Naruto sheepishly. Kagome just gathered the shards together with the huge jewel piece and melded them together. Wow, just a few more shards and it will be complete, said Kago. Me looking at the almost complete Shakan jewel. Actually, there is only one piece left and you all know where it is, said Naruto staring at Sango. No, you can't mean, said Sango with tears in her eyes. Kohaku, he has the last shard piece, said Moroku giving Sango an understanding look. Naruto-kun, you can't be suggesting we just take the shard from Kohaku, said Kagome looking at Naruto. That thing is no longer her brother. She needs to face the fact that her brother is dead and has been for a long time, said Naruto giving Kagome a serious look. Everyone was just silent until Naruto decided to break the silence. Come on, we need to get out here, said Naruto before picking up Kagome and placing her on Entei. He then jumped on Entei behind Kagome, while Moroku, Sango, Shippo and an unconscious Inuyasha rode Karara. Break, you know I still think you and Inuyasha could have solved things differently, said Kagome as she sat down next to Naruto whom was staring into the night sky. Maybe, but Inuyasha would have never been satisfied until he got the chance to fight me. I don't know what it is about demons love about fighting, but they can't live without proving they are the strongest, said Naruto as he put an arm around Kagome. Naruto-kun, you are not so different from Inuyasha. I could see it in your eyes when you were fighting him, you enjoyed the fight no matter how much you want to deny it, said Kagome. Yeah, the fight with Naraku really got my blood boiling, admitted Naruto. Naruto-kun, I have been wondering, said Kagome nervously. Yeah, asked Naruto looking at Kagome. If we weren't there to stop you, would you have tried to go to the afterlife? Asked Kagome. I don't know, a part of me wants to join my friends, but then there is the other part T. Hat wants to stay with you for as long as possible, answered Naruto smiling down at Kagome. I don't know what it is between me and falling for older men who have gloomy pasts, said Kagome giggling at her own joke. Hey, I resent that. I am only 19 years old, said Naruto outraged. Really, you seem much older with the way you act, said Kagome surprised to find out he wasn't that old at all. Quote, how do you think I feel falling for a girl so much younger than me, said Naruto with a smirk as Kagome hit him on the arm. Watch it mister, said Kagome glaring at him. Or what you going to sit me? Taunted Naruto. I'll have you know, that I have Kaide working on a new bead necklace just for you, said Kagome with a smirk. You didn't, did you? Asked Naruto nervously. I guess you'll just have to wait and see, said Kagome with a smirk. You're so cruel to me, said Naruto before playfully nudging Kagome. I'm glad you decided to stay with us, said Kagome leaning her head on Naruto's shoulder. Me too, said Naruto as he held Kagome close. With Kaide. Where am I? Groaned Inuyasha as he sat up slowly. Yeet, has been out for a long time, said Kaide as she boiled some water. I am going to kill that bastard, said Inuyasha trying to stand, but his muscles were still sore from the fight. I heard of what happened and it was foolish to attack Naruto-san, said Kaide sitting down in front of Inuyasha. I too believe it was foolish for you to attack him, said Kikyo walking into the room. Kikyo, said Inuyasha softly. I owe Naruto-kun a great deal for helping me say things clearly, so now I am going to help you see things clearly, said Kikyo sitting down beside Inuyasha. This is another thing that pissed Inuyasha off greatly because instead of him helping Kikyo get back on the right path, it was Naruto that had helped Kikyo overcome her hate issues. I don't need any help, grumbled Inuyasha. I have always known ye were a fool, but I never knew you were this foolish, said Kaide. Quiet old woman, said Inuyasha glaring at Kaide. Inuyasha, like I once was of Kagome, you are jealous of Naruto-kun, said Kikyo simply. That bastard having taken everything from me. It's like my whole pack has turned on me, said Inuyasha glaring at the two women. Ye pack has not turned on you, you are the one who has turned on them, said Kaide. When you have become more rational, come seek me out, said Kikyo, leaving the room to go wherever it is she goes. Ye pack has been worried about you all day and night, but all you care about is getting revenge on a man that has done nothing wrong to you. Who has betrayed who now, Inuyasha? Asked Kaide before leaving the room as well. Inuyasha just watched both women go before slamming his fist into the ground in anger. With Moroku and Sango. Sango, are you okay? Asked Moroku standing beside the demon slayer. I don't know if I can just watch my brother die again, said Sango with tears in her eyes. Sango, I know you may not like to hear this, but Naruto was right when he said that your brother died a long time ago, said Moroku, hugging Sango from behind. He is my brother, Moroku, said Sango. No, Sango, he isn't, he is just a shell of your brother. Your real brother died, my dear Sango, said Moroku as Sango cried in his arms. It'll be okay, Sango, everything will be okay, said Moroku as he held her tightly. In a dark place. Ha ha, it figures it would be a woman that made you get your resolve back, laughed Kyuubi as his eyes glowed a blood red, piercing through the darkness that surrounded the rest of his body. All I have to do now is deal with that parasite of a demon, and then I will have the challenge I crave so much, said Kyuubi with a crazed smirk before he disappeared into the darkness. So Sango, have you come to a decision yet? Asked Naruto while they all ate breakfast. I have, but I want to be the one who removes the shard, said Sango sadly. Are you sure, Sango? I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, said Kagome, giving Sango a worried look. No, I need to do this, he is my brother, and if anyone is going to send my brother off permanently, then I want it to be me, said Sango, her voice full of determination. I understand exactly what you mean, said Naruto with a knowing look. I'd ask, but I know you won't give me a straight answer, said Moroku. Moroku, I'm starting to think you know me too well, said Naruto with a smirk. Hey Naruto, is that your new sake bottle? Asked Shippo, pointing at a small black bottle sticking out of Naruto's robes. What this? No, this is just a water bottle. Yeah, that's it, it is my new water bottle, said Naruto, hiding the sake bottle behind his back as Kagome started to glare at him. Kagome-chan, why are you looking at me like that? Asked Naruto, scared. Naruto-kun, growled Kagome, holding out her hand and signaling for him to give her the sake bottle. Why did I fall for a sake-hating woman? Mumbled Naruto as he handed over his sake bottle. I heard that, Naruto-kun, said Kagome with a small smile as she took the sake bottle from him. I don't see why you like sake anyway. I tried that little bit you offered me, and it tasted horrible, said Shippo casually. You did what, Naruto-kun? Growled Kagome. Shippo, why don't you just kill me now? Said Naruto as Kagome started to yell at him. What is that woman yelling about now? Asked Inuyasha, coming into the room to get some breakfast. Naruto just made her mad again with his sake problem. I am glad to see you well, Inuyasha, said Moroku. Faye, as if some human can keep me down, said Inuyasha, eating some food. He seemed to keep you down pretty well from what I saw, said Sango with a smirk. Faye, replied Inuyasha. Kagome, does ye still wish to know how to make a sacred necklace? Asked Kaide, coming into the room. Kagome-chan, if you even think about it, I'll run far away, said Naruto, bluffing. I thought you said if I let you drink sake whenever you wanted, then you would let me put a necklace around you, said Kagome with a smirk. Why do you want me to put me on a leash so badly anyway? Asked Naruto, curious. I don't know, I guess it's my way of making sure that even if you disappear you'll have something to remember me by, said Kagome softly. Naruto's eyes softened at that before he smiled with an idea. Turn around, said Naruto. What? Asked Kagome, confused. Just trust me and turn around, said Naruto again. Kagome just gave him another confused look before turning around so that her back was facing Naruto. Naruto then reached around his neck and removed a necklace that was given to him a long time ago. He gently moved Kagome's hair to the side as he placed the beautiful necklace around her neck. "There," said Naruto as Kagome examined the stone on the necklace. "What kind of man wears a necklace?" asked Inuyasha. "You're one to talk," replied Naruto pointing to the bead necklace Inuyasha wore. Inuyasha just grumbled before returning back to his breakfast. "Naruto-kun, it's beautiful. I can't accept this," said Kagome as she was about to take it off, but was stopped by Naruto. "Please keep it, I want you to have it," said Naruto with a smile. Kagome just nodded before once again examining the beautiful stone that hung from the necklace. Sango and Moroku were both enthralled by the beauty of the stone as well and came over to take a look at it. "I've never seen a stone such as this before," said Sango as she gazed at the beautiful stone. "It is a priceless amulet given to me by the only person I would ever call mother. The amulet was a gift to me from her," said Naruto fondly. "Naruto-kun, this is too precious for me to take from you, please take it back," said Kagome as she once again tried to remove the necklace. "Please Kagome-chan, keep it as to know how much I care for you. So long as you keep that amulet, I will always come back to you," said Naruto before he left the room to get some air. "Naruto-kun," said Kagome softly as she watched him leave the room. "I think ye should keep and treasure the gift ye were given," said Kaide wisely. "You should listen to her, Kagome, this truly shows how much Naruto cares for you," said Sango. "Faye, it is just a girly necklace," said Inuyasha. "I remember when ye was courting my sister that ye did some girly things as well to make her happy," said Kaide with a victorious look. "Faye," grumbled Inuyasha trying to hide his embarrassed look. "I would love to hear some of those stories," said Moroku with a smirk. "Don't you dare tell them anything, old woman," said Inuyasha glaring at Moroku and Kaide. "I'll be right back," said Kagome walking out of the room. "She better hurry up. We need to get back to looking for Naraku so we can get the rest of jewel shards," said Inuyasha. "About that, Inuyasha, I think there is something you should know," said Moroku. "With Naruto, what are you doing out here, Kagome-chan?" asked Naruto turning to look at the girl. He had to catch his breath as he stared upon the beautiful woman known as Kagome. Naruto was mesmerized by how her long silky black hair was blown by the slight breeze, making her even more beautiful in his eyes. How could he, a failure in life, even hope to be with a being so pure? "I do not deserve to love anyone, since I will only end up failing to protect her like all my other precious people," thought Naruto with a frown. "Naruto-kun, I forgot to say thank you, so I came out to find you to tell you thanks." "So thank you for the necklace, I promise to keep it safe," said Kagome with a smile. "I will hold you to that," said Naruto with a smirk. "Must you always take things so lightly?" said Kagome, smacking his arm playfully. "I try to," said Naruto before Kagome smacked him in the arm again. "Kagome-chan, will you promise me something?" asked Naruto, giving Kagome a serious look. "Anything," said Kagome without hesitation. "Promise me that when I tell you to, you will leave me," said Naruto looking up into the clear sky. "What are you talking about, Naruto-kun?" asked Kagome worried. "I was brought to this world in order to regain something that I had lost. I didn't think I would ever find it, so I wasn't worried about having to face my past, but then I met you and now I have regained what I have lost," replied Naruto, still staring at the sky. "Isn't that a good thing?" asked Kagome confused. Yes it is, and I thank you so much for showing me how to once again to enjoy life. For that I am eternally grateful, but I have a feeling that soon my past will come back to finish what he started. When that time comes, I want you to leave me to face it when I tell you to," said Naruto. "I don't know if I can promise you that, Naruto-kun, I mean maybe I can help you," said Kagome trying to convince Naruto. "No, this is something I must face alone. It was my fault that things turned out the way they were, it is my responsibility to take care of it. Just know this, Kagome-chan. I will not let any harm befall you," said Naruto before heading back inside the compound. "Naruto-kun, what are you hiding from me?" asked Kagome aloud as she held the necklace he gave her close to her heart. "Why are you so sure that Kohaku is in this direction?" asked Moroku, curious. "I placed a seal on him, which allows me to sense where he is located," replied Naruto, drinking some of his sake. Ever since he gave Kagome his necklace, she had been letting him drink his sake, but only a bottle every few days, nothing more than that. I've never heard of a seal that allows one to follow another's movements, said Moroku. You think by now you would understand that I am anything but normal, said Naruto with a smirk. Yes, it seems to be your curse, said Kagome with a small smile. Hey, I resent that. My uniqueness is what makes me so desirable, said Naruto with arrogance. Now you are starting to sound like Inuyasha, said Sango, causing the said Hanyu to glare at her. Henge, said Naruto before he was surrounded by a cloud of smoke. When the cloud of smoke cleared, there was a chibi version of Inuyasha wielding a huge sword that looked miraculously like Tessaiga when transformed. Beware, or I will destroy you all with my wind scar, growled the chibi Inuyasha, swing his sword madly at the group. Kagome and the others just stared at the chibi incredulously before they all broke out laughing and clutching their sides. They were laughing so hard they didn't even notice the vein on Inuyasha's head as Naruto continued to mock him. I am going to kill you, growled Inuyasha, enunciating each word before he launched himself at Naruto. The group continued to laugh as Inuyasha and Chibi Inuyasha continued to fight. After 5 minutes of fighting, Chibi Inuyasha emerged victorious by standing on top of the fallen Hanyu and declaring to the world that he was the strongest. Cheers started to come down the group's faces as they laughed at the scene. Naruto soon grew tired of being a Chibi Inuyasha and transformed back to his original form. Well, that was fun, but something about being Inuyasha gives me the chills, said Naruto with a smirk as he rejoined the group at Kagome's side. Now Inuyasha, it was just a little fun, said Moroku, holding back the Hanyu from attacking Naruto. Naruto-kun, you really need to stop provoking him, said Kagome as she calmed down from laughing. Ha ha, you have to do that again sometime, laughed Shippo. After all the times you sold me out, I don't think I will be doing you any favors, said Naruto, causing Shippo to pout. Kagome, he's being mean to me, whined Shippo. Naruto-kun, stop being mean to Shippo, said Kagome, giving the fox demon some candy. Yeah, said Naruto, waving Kagome off as he drank some of his sake. I still don't understand why you let him drink that stuff, even if it isn't as much as before, said Sango. We have come to an understanding, that is all, said Kagome, smiling at Naruto, who just winked at her. Just so long as he doesn't drink too much, said Kagome with a glare. Of course, said Naruto sheepishly and scratching the back of his head. Good, said Kagome, nodding her head. She can be really scary when she wants to be, whispered Moroku to Sango. You're telling me, said Naruto, surprised Moroku that he heard him. Then again, I think all women are downright scary, said Naruto. You can say that again, said Moroku, agreeing with Naruto before Sango hit him over the head. What was that, you pervert? Asked Sango, glaring at the monk. Nothing, replied Moroku, rubbing his head. Good, said Sango, nodding her head pleased. Moroku and Naruto just exchanged a knowing look before following after the woman they loved. Break. Damn that human, how was he able to steal the jewel shard away from me without my noticing, growled Naraku. Kana, come here, said Naraku, calling the demon girl. Kana appeared in the doorway and calmly walked towards where Naraku was sitting. Show me where the last jewel shard is located, said Naraku. Kana slowly tilted her mirror and an image started to show on the mirror. Naraku was surprised to show that it showed Kohaku helping an elderly couple in some village. Interesting, the last jewel shard is in Kohaku. It seems getting back the complete jewel will be easier than I thought, said Naraku with a smile. Break. So this is what you look like when you turn completely human, said Naruto, staring at the now human Inuyasha. What about it? Growled Inuyasha. Nothing. I'm just happy you're not a blonde like myself. Other eyes, you would give all blondes a bad name, laughed Naruto before Kagome bopped him on the head. What did I say about provoking him? Asked Kagome, glaring at Naruto. You never let me have any fun, pouted Naruto, causing Kagome to smile because he looked so cute. Faye, said Inuyasha as he returned to ignoring everyone. You know, for a person who hates humans, you sure do know how to act like one, said Naruto. What is that supposed to mean? Asked Inuyasha, glaring at Naruto. I'm just saying that you are more human than you might want to believe, replied Naruto casually. Fei, said Inuyasha. Here I thought I was stubborn when it came to accepting the truth, said Naruto shaking his head as he remembered how he used to be when he was younger. You know, I have been wondering, once the Shakan jewel is complete, what then? Said Moroku looking at everyone. I have been wondering about that as well, said Kagome. Fei, once the jewel is complete I will use it to make me a full demon, said Inuyasha, causing Naruto laugh. Yeah right, said Naruto as he continued to laugh. You got a problem with that? Growled Inuyasha. Not a problem at all Naraku, said Naruto looking at Inuyasha. I am not Naraku, said Inuyasha. Could have fooled me with you wanting to use the jewel shard for your own personal gain, but maybe I am wrong. Maybe Naraku is merely using it to help others, said Naruto. I would not use the jewel shards to ruin people's lives, said Inuyasha. You don't know that until you are given the power to use it. Do not be so foolish as to believe that you can control the power of the shard where many others have failed. You cannot even purify the jewel shard, and yet you think you will be able to keep it from tainting you. You are a bigger fool than I thought, aid Naruto shaking his head at the Hanyu. Fei, you don't know what you are talking about, said Inuyasha trying to ignore the truth in Naruto's words. You're probably right, said Naruto before drink some more of his sake. I am kind of sad that we only have one shard left to find, admitted Kagome. Why is that, Kagome? Asked Moroku curious. Because once the shard is completely whole our journey will be over and there is no longer any reason for us to stay together, said Kagome sadly. Everyone besides Naruto just stared into the campfire and thought about what she said. It was true. They all joined forces to hunt down Naraku, but since then they had all become great friends. Would it really be over for them all once the Shakan jewel was complete? You were all friends, I'm sure that is more than enough reason to see each other even after the jewel is whole, said Naruto interrupting the silence. He is right, said Moroku with a smile. Yeah, I'm sorry I was worried over nothing, said Kagome smiling at the others. Break, I'm starting to pick up the scent of your brother, said Inuyasha sniffing the air. I heard that there is a village nearby, he is probably there, said Moroku. Kohaku, said Sango softly. You think someone on the run from Naraku would keep on the move, instead of staying in one spot, said Naruto. How do you know that Naraku is after him? Asked Shippo. He has the last jewel shard. Of course Naraku is after him, said Inuyasha hitting the fox on the head. Inuyasha, leave Shippo alone, said Kagome protecting the small fox demon. Hit him again, mumbled Naruto with a grin. Naruto-kun, growled Kagome. I said nothing. Nothing at all, said Naruto throwing his hands in front of him defensively. Hey look, there is the village, said Naruto pointing ahead. It'll be okay Sango, said Moroku putting a comforting hand on her shoulder. Sango visibly tensed before she relaxed in his grip. Sooner we get this over with the better, said Inuyasha. With Naraku, it seems you and your group have arrived Inuyasha, now I will get my revenge, said Naraku plotting to do something terrible. I think not Parasite, the only one who gets to destroy that boy is me, said a voice behind Naraku. Naraku turned around to stare in a pair of blood-red eyes, before a large paw grabbed him and dragged him off into the darkness. Break, you think Sang Oh will be okay with dealing with her brother by herself? Asked Kagome. We need to trust her to do the right thing, said Moroku. Fei, said Inuyasha with his arms crossed across his chest. Good tea. I decided to make a cage bunshin to watch over her, thought Naruto while drinking his sake. I don't have a problem with waiting, said Naruto shrugging. You're only saying that because I'm letting you drink your sake while we wait, said Kagome. What? I don't know what you are talking about, lied Naruto before holding his sake to his chest in case Kagome tried to take it away. Oh really? Well, let's see how much you like waiting when I take your sake bottle away, said Kagome chasing after Naruto, whom started to run away. Get back here Naruto-kun, yelled Kagome. Never. Don't worry, I won't let anyone touch you my precious, said Naruto as he held his sake bottle like it was his own child. I swear those two were made for each other, said Moroku with a smirk. Fei, said Inuyasha ignoring the two and their antics. Entei just laid down on the grass and started to go to sleep while his master and mistress fought. Kagome had finally tackled Naruto to the ground and they both were laughing and smiling until Naruto suddenly became serious. "He's here," said Naruto, picking Kagome up and putting her on Entei. "Entei, take Kagome to Sango. Kagome, get that last jewel shard now, saw it Naruto before the ground started to shake and rumble. "Go now, Entei," yelled Naruto as he got into a defensive stance. Entei immediately took off to where Sango was and ignoring the yells of Kagome. "Naruto, what is happening?" asked Moroku as the sky started to turn dark and lightning and thunder started up. "Moroku, Inuyasha, you need to leave now as well," said Naruto seriously. "Yeah, right, as if I'll let you face Naraku alone." "He is mine," said Inuyasha, drawing his sword. "I do not have time to play games with you," said Naruto as his eyes started to change colors. Inuyasha didn't have time to respond as Naruto appeared behind him and knocked him out like before with a chop to the neck. "Take him away from here, Moroku, now," growled Naruto as his physical features started to become more feral. Moroku just nodded in fear. But just as he was about to leave, he was frozen in the spot due to the immense power he felt. "Ha ha 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 ha, it is time, boy," said a loud voice coming through a large black portal. Moroku just stood in the spot frozen in fear as the largest demon he had ever seen emerged from the portal. "Kyuubi," said Naruto as the fox demon came out of the portal in all its glory. "It is time, boy. I have grown tired of waiting," said Kyuubi with a smirk. "Before we do this, let me ask you a question," said Naruto calmly. "Fine, I shall grant you this last request before you die," said Kyuubi. "Why is it you so desire to fight me? Other than you hating all humans, what is the point in challenging me?" asked Naruto. "Usually, I wouldn't go through so much trouble to kill one mere human. But you and your family have ruined my reputation. I am the most powerful demon to ever been born. People and demon alike feared me so much that just the mention of my name sent them running in fear. That all ended though when your father was able to seal me inside you. They no longer respected or feared me, but instead mocked me and tried to control me. Never before have I been so insulted. Even when I broke free and started to destroy your world, I was still not feared as I once was. They actually believed there was hope in defeating me since I was defeated in the past once before. I decided then to show the world that there is no hope of beating me by destroying each and every other demon to show them just how powerful I was, but you ended that when you made that stupid seal to trap them inside yourself. So now here we are. I will finally show everyone that the name Kyuubi is to be feared by destroying not only the strongest human, but all 8 of the most powerful demons," said Kyuubi, growling at Naruto. "How pathetic," said Naruto. "This coming from a boy who cries to himself every night because he couldn't save his poor precious people from the big bad Kyuubi," mocked Kyuubi with a grin. "I'm going to make you pay for that," growled Naruto as his chakra started to surround him. "Provide me with a good enough challenge and maybe I will spare that priestess from death and make her my personal servant," said Kyuubi with a perverse grin. "You die here today, Kyuubi, no matter what it takes," said Naruto before he charged at the fox demon. With Kagome. "Kagome, what are you doing here?" asked Sango, wiping away the tears from her eyes. "Naruto and the others are in trouble and we need the last piece of the jewel shard," said Kagome frantically. "I have it right here," said Sango sadly as she handed Kagome the last shard. "I'm so sorry, Sango. I almost forgot," said Kagome. She hugged the woman she considered to be a sister. "It's okay, he was happy to give me the jewel shard. My brother died happy and that is all I can ask for," said Sango as she held Kagome tightly. The girls just stood there hugging each other for a minute or so before they broke apart. "Thank you, Kagome. But we best hurry and get back to the others," said Sango, reluctantly letting go of Kagome. "Yes we do, but first let me meld the jewel shard together so it will be whole again," said Kagome as she took out the almost complete jewel shard and the last jewel fragment. The jewel shard glowed brightly and the light surrounded Kagome. When the light settled down, Kagome fell to the ground unconscious with the jewel shard held tightly in her hand. Kagome, can you hear me?" said Sango, shaking the now unconscious girl. "Karara, come, we have to take Kagome to the others to see if they know what happened to her," said Sango, picking up Kagome and was about to put her on Karara's back when Entei stepped in front of her and kneeled down. Sango instantly knew T had wanted to carry her, so she put Kagome on Entei instead before hopping on Karara's back and taking off to where the others were. In Kagome's mind, "Where am I?" asked Kagome as she was surrounded by white light everywhere. "Welcome Kagome, it seems I finally get the chance to meet you," said a woman appearing before Kagome with a kind smile. Kagome didn't know where she had seen the woman before, but she looked so familiar. "Who are you and where am I?" asked Kagome. "Why, I am the first person to have protected the Shikan jewel shard," said the woman amused. "You mean you are?" said Kagome in awe. "Yes, that is correct, I am Midoriko," said the woman with a smile. Kagome just stared at the legendary priestess in awe. "Wait a minute, if you're Midoriko, does that mean I'm dead?" asked Kagome. "No, my dear child, you are not dead. You were brought here by the Shikan jewel in order to receive a gift," said Midoriko with a smile. "A gift?" asked Kagome confused. "Yes, you see, the Shikan jewel has chosen you to be its next guardian, but you are still young and your spiritual powers are still growing. You do not yet have neither the knowledge nor power to protect the jewel," said Midoriko. "Then why not choose someone else?" replied Kagome simply. "No one else is as pure-hearted as you are, except maybe that boy you love," said Midoriko. "Then get Naruto-kun to be the protector. I know he has more than enough power and knowledge to protect the jewel shard," said Kagome. "Naruto would prove to be a great guardian of the jewel, but he has other problems at the moment and the jewel already has plans for that boy," said Midoriko. "What plans? If you do anything to harm Naruto-kun, I will make you pay," said Kagome fiercely. "I'm glad to see that your love for the boy is strong. That is good because he will need your help to deal with what he is now facing," said Midoriko. "Oh my gosh, I completely forgot that something was coming for him. I could feel it as Entei carried me away from him. Please tell me if he is okay," begged Kagome. "As you wish, but you may not like what you see," said Midoriko, waving her hand in the air and creating a mirror. Kagome then watched as the mirror started to show what was happening to Naruto now, and what she saw made her get tears in her eyes. It showed Naruto battling a large nine-tailed fox that was as big a building, and from the looks of it he was taking quite a beating. With Naruto was using every trick in the book to battle Kyuubi, but it seemed like no matter how many times he scored a hit, the fox easily recovered from hit. There has got to be a way to beat this fox, thought Naruto before he was forced to dodge a claw swipe from Kyuubi. He was able to dodge the claw swipe, but not the tail coming at him, and was slammed to the ground hard. "Come boy, start using your true power or I will force you to by attacking your friends," said Kyuubi, turning to face Miroku, whom had finally been able to break through Kyuubi's natural killing intent. "You cough, leave them out of this," said Naruto as he coughed up his own blood. "I hear the monk is able to create a wind tunnel, maybe he would like a demonstration of my elemental powers," said Kyuubi with a grin before he used one of his tails to create a large tornado and sent it straight at Miroku. "No," yelled Naruto before he slammed his hands on the ground, and a large barrier of sand suddenly shot up in front of Miroku and protected him. "I see you are finally using the demon's power within you, but you are still holding back," said Kyuubi, staring at the two tails that Naruto was now sporting from behind. "Sweden. Bakusui Shoha," said Naruto before spitting a huge amount of water from his mouth. When he finished the jutsu, there was now a large lake that was covering the whole field. "Boy, water may be my weakness, but if you think a little lake is going to stop me, then you are even more foolish than I thought," said Kyuubi, unimpressed. Naruto just ignored him before performing another hand seal and focused on creating a huge mist that would hide him from the Kyuubi. "Good, you are now using your third and fourth tail, just a few more and I might have a challenge," grinned Kyuubi before swinging his tail and creating a huge tsunami to blow away the mist. Surprisingly, the mist wasn't blown away and was still obscuring his sense of smell and sight. "What is the brat planning?" thought Kyuubi as he waited for the boy to attack. Soon he started to hear the sound of many birds chirping, but there were so many he couldn't pinpoint where they were coming from. Before he could react, 4 water dragons came straight at him and he had no time to dodge as they plowed into his sides, causing a little damage to the fox due to his weakness of water. Just as the damage was being healed, multiple Naruto came charging at him, with each having a full-powered Chidori. Kyuubi managed to kill half of the shadow clones, but 10 were still able to and a direct hit on him causing him to groan in pain. Usually the attack wouldn't have hurt him so bad, but coupled with how he was soaking wet the attack damage was multiplied. "What's the matter, Kyuubi? Can't take a little electricity?" mocked Naruto, as his voice seemed to come from all around the mist. "Foolish brat, you should have kept your mouth shut," said Kyuubi with a smirk. Naruto had no time to respond as two tails appeared behind him and batted him to the ground in an explosion of dust. This broke Naruto's concentration and the mist soon disappeared, but the small lake stayed. Quote, "You know, if your village had known that technique that might have saved more lives," taunted Kyuubi. "You knew where I was the whole time, didn't you?" said Naruto, getting up slowly. "Of course I did, boy. I control the elements better than anyone alive," said Kyuubi, grinning the whole time. "I just wanted to see what you would come up with to stop me," said Kyuubi before he used one of his tails to smash Naruto back into the ground. "I grow tired of your games, boy. Unleash your full power or I will start killing your friends. Starting with the monk and demon slayer over there," said Kyuubi, using his tail to point to Sango and Moroku. Both were high in the sky riding Kurara while watching the battle. "You will not lay a hand on them," growled Naruto as a fifth tail emerged from his back. CE again disappeared in a yellow flash and tried again to find a way to beat Kyuubi. With Kagome, "I need to go help him. How do I get out of here?" said Kagome as she watched the battle with tears streaming down her face. "Even if I let you return back to your body, you would only get in his way. You do not have the power to help him beat Kyuubi," said Midoriko sadly. "I don't care. I can't just sit back and let him fight alone," yelled Kagome, getting angry. "I think it is time for you to know why you were brought here," said Midoriko, grabbing Kagome's full attention. "I don't care. Just let me go so I can help Naruto-kun," said Kagome. "That is why you are here. The Shakan Jewel is willing to help you with your request," said Midoriko. "How?" asked Kagome, curious. "By merging with me," said Midoriko simply. "What do you mean?" asked Kagome. "By joining with me, your power will reach its full potential and you will gain all my knowledge on how to use your spiritual powers to the fullest," said Midoriko. "What will happen to me though? I mean, will I become more like you and lose my own self?" said Kagome. "No, you will still be yourself. You will just gain my knowledge and learn how to better use your powers. I promise that you will still be you," said Midoriko with a kind smile. "I don't know," said Kagome. "You will only be given this opportunity once. I will give you some time to think about it. While you think, I will leave you alone and you can continue to watch what is happening with the man you love," said Midoriko before fading away and leaving Kagome by herself to think over her decision. With Sango and Moroku, "Why does this thing wish to destroy Naruto so badly?" asked Sango as she watched the one-sided battle. "I don't know, but whatever the reason, I hope Naruto is able to survive this battle or Kagome will be devastated," said Moroku as he watched the fight as well. I am going to kill that bastard," groaned Inuyasha as he sat up. "You'll have to get in line," said Moroku, pointing at the battle. "What is that? I never seen such a demon before," said Inuyasha, trying to hide his fear. "We would all like to know the answer to that question," said Sango. Inuyasha was about to draw his sword and go fight the demon, but Moroku slapped a seal on his forehead, preventing him from moving. "Sorry, Inuyasha, but this fight is not yours to interfere in," said Moroku, turning back to watch the fight. With Naruto, Naruto had bruises and cuts all over his body and even may a few broken bones. Lucky for him, that he had the healing abilities of 8 demons. So he didn't have to worry about being slowed down from his wounds for too long. He now had 7 tails coming out of his back, but he was still not able to do any permanent damage to Kyuubi. "Damn fox and his stupid healing abilities," growled Naruto as he coughed up some blood. "Why don't you call out that stupid frog of yours? It's been a while since I had a good meal," said Kyuubi. "You and I both know that Gamabunta would only hinder my speed and in the end, just get in my way," said Naruto as he stood up slowly. "You amuse me, boy, but I grow tired of our game. I think it is time to up the stakes," said Kyuubi, turning to face Moroku and the others. "Oh no you don't," said Naruto, racing off to get in front of Kyuubi, but it was too late. Kyuubi had already released a huge fire blast at his friends and it was moving at them too fast for them to dodge. Initial, heal, life, harm, and limit gates open, screamed Naruto as a huge amount of chakra was released from his body. Naruto disappeared from sight, reappeared in front of the huge fireball, and braced himself for the impact. Naruto! Yelled Moroku and Sango as they watched him get swallowed by the attack. Kyuubi smirked as he watched Naruto bat away his attack with his newfound power. Now we are getting somewhere, said Kyuubi as Naruto glared down at him. Naruto disappeared from Kyuubi's sight, reappeared in front of him, and delivered a powerful uppercut that actually knocked Kyuubi to the ground. He was actually able to harm that demon, said Moroku in shock. Incredible, said Sango amazed. With Kagome. Naruto-kun, said Kagome as she watched the fight. He is strong, but it won't be enough to defeat the demon, said Midoriko appearing at Kagome's side. I believe in Naruto-kun, he will defeat the demon, said Kagome trying to sound confident. You will need to make a decision soon, said Midoriko. With Naruto, 8 tails and 5 life gates open, yet I still can't permanently harm him, thought Naru. As he continued to dodge the 9 tails of Kyuubi. Before Naruto could think more on the matter, he was forced to stop Kyuubi from crushing him with his paw. It took all his energy to hold back Kyuubi from crushing him. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Just as Naruto was about to be squashed like a potato, a sacred arrow hit Kyuubi and the demon howled in pain. Naruto used that moment of distraction to get to a safe location. Kagome-chan, leave this as my battle, said Naruto looking up at Kagome as she rode on Entei. You need my help Naruto-kun, and you are going to get it, said Kag. As she prepared to fire another arrow. Kyuubi managed to regain his bearing and used his tail to launch a powerful wind blast at Kagome and Entei, forcing Entei to mess up Kagome's aim by dodging the attack. Annoying wench, I will kill you for that, growled Kyuubi. Naruto gave Kyuubi a curious look because he didn't think Kagome would have been able to harm the Demon Lord, but when he took a closer look he realized that a portion of Kyuubi's power had been purified. It's like he lost a tail's worth of power, but how was Kagome able to fire such a powerful spiritual arrow? Something has changed her, but what? Thought Naruto in shock. Kagome-chan, aim for Kyuubi's tail while I distract him, yelled Naruto before he started to perform a rapid set of hand seals. Kagome just nodded before, preparing to launch a barrage of arrows at Kyuubi. Doten. Yomi Numa, yelled Naruto pouring as much chakra as possible into the attack. A large swamp appeared on the ground and Kyuubi started to sink into the swamp. The swamp also started to drain Kyuubi's incredible chakra, but it wouldn't be long before the Kyuubi escaped. Naruto would have used another water-based attack, but the lake was all but gone now due to Kyuubi's chakra evaporating it. Kagome took this opportunity to fire a few arrows at Kyuubi and managed to hit one of his tails, causing the great demon once again to scream out in pain. Kagome's spiritual power has reached a level one have never seen before, said Moroku in awe. What could have happened to her while she was unconscious? Wondered Sango. Moroku and Sango WOU. Have liked to talk more about the subject, but were stopped because Kyuubi had unleashed its full power that blew everyone away. Now you have made me angry, no more playing around, roared Kyuubi. In a blind rage before he started to move at speeds that Naruto wouldn't have believed a being of his size could move at. Naruto didn't even have time to respond as he was pummeled to the ground by Kyuubi's tails while Entei was forced to dodge the multiple elemental attack he was releasing upon Kagome. Now watch as I kill your women and prove to you again just how weak you are. Once again I will. I'll force you to watch as I kill the ones you love, grinned Kyuubi before he knocked Entei and Kagome to the ground. I won't let you harm her. View. Wonder Gate open, screamed Naruto before he instantly disappeared and appeared at Kagome and Entei's side and moved them away before Kyuubi could crush them under his paw. Forgive me Kagome-chan, but it seems I will not be able to stay with you, saw it Naruto before using a jutsu to paralyze her and grabbing the Shakan jewel shard from around her neck. You can't protect her forever, growled Kyuubi. I won't need to because I plan on taking us both to hell forever, said Naruto as he clutched the jewel shard tightly in his hands. The Shakan jewel started to glow brightly and Naruto just smirked at Kyuubi. Death Gate open, yelled Naruto before he was surrounded by black chakra. You really think you are still a match for me? Foolish boy, time for you to meet those you love in the afterlife, growled Kyuubi charging at Naruto. Kagome-ju. Saint watched in horror as Naruto calmly stood still and just smiled. Right before Kyuubi reached Naruto, he turned to face Kagome, and looked her straight in the eye. Goodbye Kagome-chan, said Naruto. Before a bright pink light surrounded Kyuubi and Naruto and blinded everyone. When the light settled down, Kagome realized that she could no longer sense Naruto's presence. Naruto-kun, screamed Kagome, as she ran around the area looking for him. Moroku, Sango, Shippo, and Inuyasha watched as Kagome fell to her knees in tears. Naruto-kun, why did you leave me? Cried Kagome as she wrapped her arms around herself. The others didn't know what to do, so they stayed back and left Kagome in peace as she cried for the one she loved. 6 years later, Kagome had just finished her classes for the day and was on her way back home. On her way back home, she started to remember the last time she saw her friends from feudal Japan. After Naruto and that demon had disappeared, Kagome had lost herself and didn't talk to anyone for a whole week as she mourned. Inuyasha still wanted to hunt for Naraku even though the jewel shard was gone, but Kagome told them that Naraku was already dead. When asked how she knew that, Kagome told Moroku to use his wind tunnel, and when he tried he found that he was no longer cursed. Inuyasha was angry at finding out that someone had killed Naraku besides him and went off sulking. The jewel shard was gone, Naraku was gone, and Naruto was gone. Kagome just couldn't handle it and told the group that she needed to return back to her time. Shippo tried to convince her to stay and tried everything he could to get her to stay, but in the end, the group understood Kagome's decision to return. It was a very heartfelt goodbye and Kagome was in tears saying goodbye to the best friends she ever had. It had now been 6 years since Kagome returned home and she was miserable. She missed Naruto-kun so much and no matter what she did she couldn't stop herself from missing him. Even when she took her mother's advice to date other guys, it just didn't work because she would always be thinking of Naruto-kun during the whole date. I would do anything to see you again Naruto-kun, said Kagome as she stared at the god tree. Really, I would like to take you up on that offer, whispered a voice in her ear. It can't be, thought Kagome as she turned around slowly to say. A man wearing strange robes and a straw hat covering his face, just picture Naruto in some Hokage robes. Naruto-kun, said Kagome in disbelief. The man just smirked before tilting his straw hat up and revealing his face to Kagome. Hi Kagome-chan, did you miss me? Said Naruto smiling at the girl. Kagome just stared at Naruto in shock, not believing it was really him. Kagome-chan, said Naruto worried, but didn't have to worry long as she flung herself into his arms. Somehow, he managed to keep his balance from the surprise attack. Kagome just cried in his arms and Naruto just held her tight. He had missed her so much, but he couldn't see her until now due to some interesting circumstance that he knew Kagome would force out of him when she calmed down. I missed you so much, cried Kagome in his arms. Oh, I missed you too. More than you will ever know, replied Naruto holding Kagome tightly. Where have you been and why didn't you come back to me sooner? Demanded Kagome as she tried to wipe away her tears. But more just kept flowing. Let's take a seat, said Naruto before pulling down Kagome onto his lap as he sat on the ground in front of the god tree. Speak now, said Kagome resting her head against his chest. Well, as you know Kyuubi and I were battling when I pulled a fast one and made a wish with the jewel shard, said Naruto. What was your wish? Asked Kagome already knowing the answer. I wish that in exchange for my life that Kyuubi be taken to a place from where he could never harm anyone ever again, said Naruto. You had no right to do that, we could have up with a different way to beat Kyuubi, said Kagome hitting Naruto on the chest. No, there is no other way to beat Kyuubi. I know of how you merged with Midoriko, but not even with your godly amount of spiritual power you could not have beat Kyuubi. He is a being of pure evil and even if we had found a way to beat him, he would have just reformed himself somewhere else becoming even stronger than before. I did the only thing that would permanently stop his evil forever, said Naruto. I still think there was another way. Do you know how miserable I was thinking you had died, and that I had done nothing to save you? Said Kagome. You were one stubborn woman, said Naruto with a small smile. How did you know Midoriko and I had merged? not even the others knew that, said Kagome, changing the subject. Well, this is where the story gets interesting. You see, after I made my wish, the jewel shard teleported Kyuubi and I to a very large white room, or maybe it was just a wide open space, either way back to the point. Said Naruto, continuing his story. Flashback. Where have you taken us, brat? Demanded Kyuubi. Hell if I know, I was aiming to take us both to hell for all eternity. Replied Naruto, examining the surroundings. Brat, I am going to kill you and then I am going to find a way out of this place, said Kyuubi, advancing towards Naruto. Take your best shot, Fox, because I doubt there is a way out of this place, seeing as how I wished for you to be transported somewhere where you could no longer wreak havoc, said Naruto with a smirk. Kyuubi just roared in anger. Or he made a move to squash Naruto with one of his tails, but a barrier appeared around Naruto and repelled his tail. What trickery is this? Demanded Kyuubi. Kyuubi no Kitsune, you shall not harm the boy, said a feminine voice. Naruto and Kyuubi turned to see the Shakan jewel floating over to them. Well, this sure is an interesting development. Who would have thought that the jewel shard was sentient? Said Naruto as the jewel floated between Kyuubi and Naruto. No pathetic jewel is going to stop me, said Kyuubi, but before he could do anything, he was encased in a large pink barrier that prevented him from doing anything. Now that he has been dealt with, it is time to discuss why you are here, Uzumaki Naruto, said the Shakan jewel. Just when I thought my life couldn't get any more complicated, said Naruto with a sigh. Indeed, when you made your wish I went over your memories and I found that even through the most troubling of times your heart remained pure. I have dead to grant you one more wish if you do something for me, said the Shakan jewel. What is it you want me to do? Asked Naruto, curious. If the Shakan jewel could smile it would be, but instead it Saint floated in front of Naruto before it started to talk. Do you accept my offer? Asked the Shakan jewel. Yes, I accept, said Naruto with no hesitation. Good, said the Shakan jewel before the barrier around Kyuubi shrunk down until it was the size of a marble, with the Kyuubi still in it and somehow alive. Naruto didn't get much time to ponder what was happening before the marble-sized bar rear holding Kyuubi shot right at him and went into the seal on his stomach that held the 8 other biju. What was that? Asked Naruto, placing his hands over his stomach. You will be charged with purpose of making sure the biju don't get escape back into the world. You will be their jailer for all eternity, said the Shakan jewel. Damn it, I knew I was getting scammed, said Naruto, wishing he had some sake. Stop your whining, and make your wish already, said the Shakan jewel. Tell the truth, I can't make just one wish because there are just a few things that I can't live without, said Naruto seriously. You wish to be able to return to the past so you can change certain events, but you don't wish to live and not be able to never see Kagome again, said the Shakan jewel. Yes, you got me there, said Naruto. I will let you visit Kagome, and if she agrees I will let her go with you back to the past of your world. If she doesn't agree then you won't have any regrets when you go back to the past, said the Shakan jewel. Really? What's the catch? Asked Naruto, suspicious. You must do another thing for me, said the Shakan jewel. Cunning little jewel shard. I really wish I had some sake, thought Naruto as he listened to what he had to do for the Shakan jewel. End flashback. It took you 6 years to do 2 things, said Kagome with a glare. Hey, it's not my fault, said Naruto. So, what is the second thing you had to do? Asked Kagome, curious. Come on out, Entei and Naraku, said Naruto with a whistle. Naraku, repeated Kagome, giving Naruto a confused look. Naruto just smiled before Entei landed on the ground in front of Naruto and Kagome with a small boy, no older than 6, on its back. Kagome, meet my adopted son Naraku. Naraku, meet the woman I love, Kagome, said Naruto with a smirk. You have adopted one of Naraku's reincarnations, whispered Kagome in disbelief. Actually, this boy contains his heart, but his heart was purified and he has no memories of what his previous self did. I have been charged with making sure he lives a long healthy life, said Naruto as the boy jumped off Entei's back. Chu-san, yelled Naraku happily, as he ran up to Naruto with a smile on his face. Naruto just smiled back at the boy before getting up and twirling him around in the air. I'm happy to see you too. You haven't been giving Entei any trouble now, have you? said Naruto as he stopped twirling the boy and held him. No To-san, I have been good. Who is this lady To-san? Said Naraku looking at Kagome. This woman here is my most precious person, said Naruto smiling at Kagome. She is so beautiful, said Naraku. Why thank you, you're not so bad yourself, said Kagome smiling at the little boy. Go play with Entei, I need to finish talking to Kagome-chan, said Naruto placing Naraku on the ground. Naraku just said okay before running off to play with Entei. You did a good job raising him from what I can tell, said Kagome smiling at the boy before turning to face Naruto. I tried my best, said Naruto. So, is there something you wish to ask me? Asked Kagome already knowing what he was going to ask. Kagome-chan, I need you to understand that I come from a place where people are trained to fight and kill from a very early age, started Naruto but was interrupted by Kagome when she placed a finger over his mouth. Naruto-kun, I already know all about that and I am okay with it, said Kagome with a smile. How? You know what, it doesn't matter. I guess there is only one thing left for me to ask. Will you come with me to the past? Asked Naruto hopefully. I don't know, I can't just leave my mother and brother behind, said Kagome with a sad look. Don't worry about us honey, we will be okay, said Mrs. Higurashi coming out of the shrine with Sota. Yeah sis, we understand, said Sota with a smile. Just promise that you will visit when you can, said Mrs. Higurashi. Sota, Mama, said Kagome hugging them both tightly. Go on honey, be with the one you love, said Mrs. Higurashi. You better make sure she stays safe, said Sota glaring at Naruto. You have my word, that no one will lay a hand on her, said Naruto smiling at the boy. You better, said Sota. So Kagome-chan, will you come with me? Asked Naruto. Of course, said Kagome hugging him tightly. Thank you so much, said Naruto as he held her tightly. To-san, can we go yet? This place is so boring, said Naraku as he rode back to the ground on Entei. Yes, we can get going right away, said Naruto lifting Kagome onto Entei's back before getting on behind her. I promise to take good care of her Mrs. Higurashi, said Naruto looking at the older woman. Mrs. Higurashi just smiled at him before waving goodbye to her daughter. Kagome waved goodbye to her mother and brother before a portal opened up in front of Entei and they rode through it. You sure she will be okay mom? Asked Sota a little worried. She will be fine, she is a strong girl, said Mrs. Higurashi before heading back inside the shrine. Break. Where are we? Asked Kagome as they emerged from the portal. We are located between the Land of Wind and Land of Fire. A long time ago, there was a hidden village in this part, but the village was wiped out to unknown causes and the village location was lost over time. Amazingly, all its buildings are still intact and ready for use. It is the perfect location for me to gather forces and train in private with no one finding out about my plans, said Naruto with a smirk as he leapt off Entei. I will help you any way I can Naruto-kun. I know some seals I can create to hide the village even better than it is now, said Kagome standing beside him. Kagome-chan, I want to thank you for helping me. I don't think I could have done this all by myself, said Naruto holding her hand. To-san, I am going to go take Entei to the stables, said Naraku before leading Entei inside the village. Okay son, I'll see you back at home, said Naruto as he watched him leave. So, Naruto, exactly how far back in the past did we go? Asked Kagome. The Kyuubi was just sealed inside my past self a few days ago, but unfortunately, I can't take him away from the village, otherwise it will interfere with the future too much, said Naruto sadly. You may not be able to help him now, but you will help so much more when the time comes, said Kagome, reassuring him with a smile. You're right as usual, said Naruto smiling back at her. Come on, I still need you to show me around this village since it will be our new home, said Kagome with a smile. Yeah, you're right, but first things first, said Naruto. Before Kagome could ask what he was talking about, he grabbed her head and kissed her gently on the lips. Kagome was surprised at first, but soon started to kiss him back. After a few minutes of kissing each other passionately, they broke apart and were panting heavily as they smiled at each other. Wow, said Kagome with a blush. You don't have to tell me, said Naruto with a smirk. We'll have to do that again soon, said Kagome with a coy smile. That was even better than sake, said Naruto playfully, which caused Kagome to smack him on the chest. Watch it, mister, or you won't be having either, said Kagome with a glare. Forgive me, I was just playing, said Naruto hugging Kagome, causing her to smile at him. Now come on, show me around this village, said Kagome, leading the way into the village. Naruto just smiled before walking beside her while holding her hand.